last shot is called the Martini Shot, even by people who don't drink martinis.
Well, first of all, through God, all things are possible, so jot that down.
This town needs an enema.
That shit is the Mad Notes, written by God herself and handed down to the greatest band in the world.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
All right, we are live. Thanks for tuning into the Martini Shot Hangout, everybody. We're doing something a little bit different today. It is Sunday, May 18th. We're going to be talking all things Final Destination today. But before I introduce my guests, go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. I'm live at 5 every Sunday. So come by, swing by. You never know what guests might be on here. So today, I have two gentlemen who I've really good friends of the channel. One of them you might know from his horror based channel. It's Matt from Mad Blood. How you doing today, Matt?
Good, Chris. Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course, man. And then the other one is a gentleman who helped kick off this live stream. He's a great friend of the channel. He's on. You might blink and see him on here. Getting a hold of him is always fun because you know he's a Bostonian, so you never know what their flaky ass is over there. But we love having him on, and he's also a gentleman who thinks me and Matt are 40, and he thinks that we're not even at middle age yet. He's convinced he's living to 120. Anyway, John Sullivan, Sully Streams. How you doing today, Sully?
I am good. Thanks for having me, dude. I'm excited to talk about this. I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions on it. I wouldn't say that I'm a Final Destination fan. I'm more of an enjoyer, a casual enjoyer, sure. But you know, I'm excited to see. I'm just hoping we all have one specific movie ranked in last place, and then I'll be okay.
I think that was Matt's stipulation about coming on today. He said, as long as the Final Destination isn't your favorite, we can have to talk. So
yeah, we don't want to get too wild. I mean, I don't want to start flipping tables or
we can't have that.
Anything like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly. Sully, have you done a Final Destination ranking list yet?
I don't think I have actually, because I think they were growing up. I've kind of mentioned before that they were an ultimate sleepover movie for me. But because of that, you know, being a young kid, short attention span, I feel like I wasn't paying the utmost attention to them. It was kind of bits and pieces. You're paying attention for the kills and not really paying attention to anything else that you would look kind of like run down the checklist and decide which entries are better or not. So I gave them a fresh rewatch over the last month. A little rocky, but
yeah, some of them are.
Yeah, but I'm in a good place now to. I think I've got my ranking figured out now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Matt, I saw that you posted your review yesterday. I intentionally avoided it just so we could have that conversation today. But how are you? How do you feel about the Final Destination series? I know you're like Mr. Slasher. You know, most of your, not most of it, but a ton of your big content that I see is, you know, going through a Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees sort of ranking. How do you feel about the Final Destination series?
Yeah, it's true. I was thinking about that. A lot of slasher stuff on the channel, which is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Sully, though, on that, too. I mean, this franchise, it's kind of like the ultimate sleepover franchise. It's kind of the ultimate movie theater franchise as far as, like, with a crowd. It makes it so much better. I don't know if I'm assuming you guys have seen Bloodlines, but you know, just the experience of if as packed of a house as possible, because you want to hear people after the big kill and it's kind of quiet, people just saying holy shit or laughing, or they're looking at the mom that they somehow dragged to the movie, and she's just like, you know, white in the face, cannot believe what she just saw. But those reactions are great. But yeah, dicey, of course. Most of the acting, very dicey. Yes. Bloodlines, not to spoil anything, but Bloodlines, definitely a step up in a lot of ways in that regard. But, I mean, the key with Final Destination is, traumatizing a generation. Using things against... You know, they have that... I mean, as everyone knows, they have that angle of you can't not think about the franchise years later. You know, you're at a public swimming pool and you're immediately thinking of the Final Destination. You're like, you know, you're diving down. You're like, I'm not going to get next to that drain, right?
Yep. Looking for my lucky coin down there.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I still don't understand what the hell.
I don't know why he cared about that so much. It also wasn't that lucky.
And then in Bloodlines, there's a lot of coin stuff. You know,
Yeah, there's a lot of
what's up
coin
with
stuff.
the coin? You know,
Yeah,
are they going to
so
make
it's
another movie where they all of a sudden reveal the coin thing? Because I
Mhm.
mean, it took 25 years to reveal the true origin of Tony Todd.
Yeah,
How the
Right.
hell he's connected to everything. So maybe the coin eventually will be a part of that. But it's a wild franchise, man. But it's a
Yeah.
fun one to talk about because it's just pure shenanigans.
Going
is.
going off the age thing for a second, kind of the way you introduced me. I'm kind of curious.
That was the
Yeah,
last
you're
time we
young.
talked.
You're probably a young son of a bitch.
Well, I'm curious. This was the first Final Destination that I've seen in theaters. Is that the same for you two or no?
No, I saw the first in the theaters, man.
Yeah.
Damn,
That's way
Chris,
back.
old as hell.
Yeah.
No, we were born. I think we were born the same year.
Yeah. Are you 85?
Yeah, 85. Yep, December.
Years old.
December 85. So calm down. I'm probably a little younger. You know, December.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So
no,
you
but-
you still got a few months. I hit that threshold. I think last time I talked to Sully, it was the week after that. So in March, I'm a March baby. So and
Nice.
Sully, you're 95, right?
94.
94. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
I've crossed that 30 threshold. So
Yep.
that got me to thinking, Matt, like one of the things that I've always found interesting about the Final Destination franchise, outside of, they were real important in our formidable years. High school, I feel like everybody was talking about the first one. And I think I just started college when Final Destination 2 came out. And I just remember like that was back before when you had to buy it on DVD and it was before all the widescreen, everyone had a widescreen television in their house. And my mom had a huge sound system and I like brought friends over just to show them the opening scene of that. And everybody's reaction to that was like what you were saying. It was like, holy shit. That was like the number one phrase that was uttered during it. So Sully, how old were you when you first saw a Final Destination movie?
oh man. I mean, I definitely kind of what you were talking about. I definitely first saw one at a friend's house.
Yeah.
What was the first one? 2000?
2000.
Yeah.
It's
So
25th anniversary.
I'm gonna guess that I probably saw, I don't know, maybe like the third one when it came out on DVD at like a buddy's house or something, and then kind of went back and watched the first two after that. I think that I had not seen the fourth until this week. Not that I was missing out on anything, but just to get ready for this, and I hadn't seen 5 either. And actually, 5's definitely towards the top of my list. I really enjoyed that one, especially the way it ends. But I don't know. I must have been around like 10, 11, 12, something like that when I saw the first.
That's
first
funny. I
episode.
actually just showed my daughter's 12, and I just showed her the first couple Final Destinations, and she's obsessed.
Yeah.
I feel like all that TikTok generation, the only movies they like are horror movies. So,
Well, I think it's kind of like it's an interesting concept where it's super creative and not at the same time, because like they get to focus so much on just coming up with a cool kill. But you think about it, it's like a slasher that doesn't have a slasher villain.
yeah, it's
So it's
faceless.
like they never need to worry about like what it looks like or the execution. It's just the kill. So it's kind of interesting that it's a slasher franchise without an iconic slasher villain behind it, and it's lasted 25 years.
Yeah, and it's kind of brilliant too because when you think about like Michael Myers or certain iterations of Jason, for example, you're like, I could probably get away from him,
Right.
Besides teleporting Jason in part 7, but like Michael Myers, you're like, yeah, I could probably get away from him. Even especially in Halloween Ends, you're like, yeah, he's old, he's decrepit, he's basically a homeless hobo. Whereas in this, it's just walking, hanging out in the sewer down by the river, eating a steady diet of government cheese.
Yep.
But yeah, it's kind of like I'm sure kids especially, you can't get away from it, and it's always kind of lurking. And it makes me immediately think about, man, when I was 16, 17, whatever, driving around in my friend's car, I'm lucky I survived.
No kidding.
Dude, like there's so many moments where death was inches from me. Taking out a parent's car and driving way too fast. We shouldn't have been driving or whatever. So I'm like, shit, kids nowadays are probably, they resonate with that because, you just do dumb things you would never do as an adult, like you see in the movie. Like the guy in the third movie, he's like, show me your titties. And then the camera falls onto the roller coaster and kills everyone.
Oh my God.
Just
I hated that guy.
that's funny when you watch those movies. You're like, man, this guy is such an insufferable douchebag. But then you think back to when you were that age, and you're like, yeah, I mean, pretty much had that invincible mentality.
But also, you're pumped. You're pumped that guy's in this franchise, though, because you know he's next on the chopping block.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, just like the guy in the opening to Final Destination 4, the racist guy, the great, yeah, all of them. The list goes on and on. You're like
sliced in half.
Like he's gonna get it. You know it.
Yeah, yeah. It's and death has no ideology in these movies. It's just you kind of fuck with it. Then you're fucked.
Yeah. The guy in who started it in 3, how did he die? I forget. He never survived the premonition, I guess. The guy with the video camera who, remember, it got caught on the roller coaster at 3.
No, it was Mary Elizabeth Winstead who had the premonition.
Yeah, she was the survivor, but yeah, I don't remember how the guy
who.
You know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I just couldn't remember his fate off the top of my head. Anyways, random thought. But.
Yeah, that's funny. And it's, I think Final Destination 1 was directed by James Wong, and then 2 was David R. Ellis. Then 3 was James Wong again, and then 4 was David R. Ellis, and then 4th was easily, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But so
the best one.
Yeah, easily. So Matt, that's why I brought you on. We needed to have these, and Sully's known for a hot take or two. So that's what he likes to do.
I like it.
I like it every once in a while because he's convinced he's living to 120, which I think is, I think I was telling him, I was like, yeah, but this middle age, and he's like, stop with the middle age talk, bro. You're not middle age. You're like quarter age. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm living to 120. So yeah, you're coming too.
Yeah, it's all those YouTube posts by that one guy that just lives forever,
Oh yeah. So
sorry, my camera crapped out for a sec, but I'm back. I was like, what is going on?
Just awfully quiet there. Yeah, no, I was just talking about how you're convinced that you're living to 120. You're telling me that middle age is definitely not 40.
Yeah, 120 will be my middle age.
Oh, that's your middle age.
Yeah, get it right.
Yeah,
get it right.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Don't make that mistake again.
Oh, I'll try not to. So, all right. Well, I wanted to show this. So it looks like Final Destination Bloodlines coursing the franchise best $51 million. So,
which is, I think, best horror opening in the last, or rated R opening in the last decade. I want to say.
Really
I heard something about that.
I think that's what I saw too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, part of it is obviously people have a lot of nostalgia for this franchise, especially us millennials. We're like the nostalgia base. You put something out there that we haven't seen in a while, we're gonna flock to theaters to see it. But the freaking marketing, have you seen some of it? Has been amazing. Like these.
Oh yeah. Give that person a raise.
Final Destination on there.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah. So, and then on top of that. I think what's been really important is that it's the reviews are higher than any Final Destination franchise or movie, and it's not even close. I think it has like over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the next closest one is Final Destination 5, which had like a 68% or something. So,
which is nuts.
It is nuts. So I'm gonna kick it off with Mr. Horror himself, Matt. Matt, give us your initial thoughts on Bloodlines. How are you digging the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think 90-something%. Let's take that with a massive grain of salt. Like that's absurd. Like this isn't Shawshank Redemption or something like that. I don't. Yeah. Definitely well received. I'm assuming it'll probably be the highest grossing movie in the franchise. Which actually the highest grossing movie in the franchise right now is the 4th movie. I'm sure a lot of that had to do with.
Is it really? I guess I didn't look into that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it made the most money, 190 million. But no, Bloodlines. I've seen it twice.
You saw it twice.
I saw it again yesterday, and did get it towards kind of the back half of the movie. It started to drag a little bit now that I kind of knew what was coming. But really enjoyed the movie. I mean, a great premonition. The most like cinematic blockbuster type of a premonition probably in the franchise in that opening. Just, you know what I mean? Just like the scale of it. And it just shows you the technology nowadays and how they can utilize that to make it just crazier and bigger, which is awesome. Great premonition, great anxiety. What I look for in the Final Destination franchise, which you'll probably notice in my ranking is I love the build up and anxiety. I love the kills, but all of that. Are we going to talk spoilers, or what do you think? What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's watching, I think that might help. Maybe not too crazy spoilers, but I'm fine. I'm fine with going through some of this.
The kills are the movie, so it'd be kind of hard to avoid.
Yeah, if they're watching this, I'm assuming that they probably want to be seeing us talk about some of those kills. So yeah, I think that's okay. I'll put a caveat up there. Everybody, we're going to talk some spoilers. So if you don't want to watch them, tune out now. But yeah,
maybe at the end. Oh, anyways, but yeah, and the premonition is great mix of like humor, making you laugh your ass off, especially with that kid, that little shit, and everything that goes down with that kid, which is great. Very much reminds you of another kid earlier in the franchise. I can't remember which part, but anyways, premonition's really fun, gory, has everything you want, feels fresh and feels new. And then, you know how normally in the franchise, of course, right as the last death happens, boom, you zoom out and it's the person's face. But the little twist with that, I'm not going to reveal too much, I guess. It's probably not a good idea to spoil that too much, but it actually reminded me very much of Scream 6, which was also partially written by Guy Busick, who helped to write this movie. So that fresh take on that little aspect of it reminded me of Scream 6, because in Scream 6, spoiler, Ghostface does the opening kill like normal, and then takes off the mask. So you're like, oh, this is it's kind of new and fresh. So that's cool. But Bloodlines, probably the best acting in the franchise. I felt like the characters to me felt real. They didn't just feel like caricatures of normal people, which is fine too. You know, the whole like American Pie era and like the frat guy humor and stuff. Like that's cool too. Nothing wrong with that. But this movie felt more like a real family. You started to really care about some of the characters. I mean, they made the uncle seem like the greatest guy on the planet on purpose, pretty much, you know? And, I don't know if we want to talk too much about that, but still.
No, that's okay. We can talk about that.
Okay. My dumbass, I fell for it.
Sure.
You know, because Stephanie was showing up to the backyard barbecue party. And I was like, oh, maybe, come on. But I fell for it. You know, he was offering her the key to come, the mom to come move in. I'm like, I should have known.
Yeah.
But crazy kill. But yeah, really, really. So I think what's cool about this movie is they really definitely went back to having deaths that were very relatable for a lot of people. Lawnmower death, garbage truck death. Some of those deaths. I think my favorite death in the movie was probably the garbage truck death, because I think the fake outs and it happens in the background, blurry, you know, all of that was really damn good.
Yeah,
and then
the unexpected nature of it all.
Yeah, and Eric in that moment too was kind of, you know, he was funny. He was doing his thing, joking around, you know, slapping the truck, and great fake outs. And then that was brutal too. Like, holy shit. And then not to be too long-winded, but the very end of the movie where they go to Iris's fortress, you know, whatever the hell's going on with that thing. Yeah. That was okay to me, you know.
Yeah, kind of tropey.
Yeah, kind of tropey. Nothing really super memorable with that scene, in my opinion. But the flash forwards, which I always look forward to in the franchise, I thought was cool. You know, I thought that was good. How the doctor was like, well, not exactly.
Yeah, you didn't really.
And they were like, oh shit. And then we get the homage. We find out that the logging truck marketing scheme wasn't just an homage to the second movie. They were, you know, going to trickle that in there at the end. Yeah, which I thought was cool. So I thought it's not my favorite movie in the franchise, but I definitely had a good time. It was really fun. 93% in Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
Not that high, but
that's a little crazy. I think going in with those expectations, when you saw when the reviews were coming out, you're like 93%. Like, is this the greatest horror movie ever made? And you see it and you go, no, it's a fun Final Destination movie. There's nothing more, nothing less.
One thing I just want to mention before you guys go into it, I think I benefited from avoiding all of the trailers except for the teaser. Except for the teaser where Eric was in the tattoo shop.
Right. I saw you react to that one, so that's good that you avoided him. I'm trying to do that more and more because I'm tired of like modern trailers just ruining everything for everyone.
Dude,
yeah, I did the same as Matt.
Yeah. I was just gonna say really quick. I went back and watched the trailer so I can get some clips for my video. It spoils all the good stuff.
So much stuff.
Everything. The uncle, everything spoiled.
The The second trailer too was really well put together. It kind of got you excited about the franchise, because the first one, the teaser, obviously you're like, oh, that doesn't show me anything, kind of a letdown. But the second trailer was great. But you're right, it does spoil so much in there with the ice falling into, or with the glass falling into the ice, the rake on the trampoline. You know, that's that whole sequence that happens out in the movie. You're like, yeah, you if you saw the trailer, you're like, I know exactly what's going to be happening here.
That's such a horror thing too. Like there's
Yeah.
no genre where it's more important to go in blind and fresh. Like I think I drew a line in the sand when Zach Kreger's Weapons trailer came out. I have not seen that, and I'm staying away from it as far as possible.
The good news is that trailer doesn't show a thing.
I've heard it
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, what the hell is even happening in this movie? So that's good. But when his buddy, when he was releasing Companion, you know, they completely ruined that entire movie in the trailers.
Yeah,
Yes,
100%.
yes. Can you imagine if you didn't know any Android, like the whole reveal of the
that would
Android
have been
thing?
amazing.
Because there's
would've
such
made it
good
so much better. Yeah.
subtle Android like dialogue in the beginning to like kind of give you a little bit of a sneak of what's happening, but I
Yeah.
already knew it going in, obviously.
Like,
Yeah,
don't make her eyes white on the damn poster.
Right.
Come
yeah.
on.
No, the
Yeah.
marketing really failed that movie. But all right, so Sully, what'd you think about? I saw you post a review a little bit earlier than most, but I didn't watch it because I knew we were gonna have this chat. So what'd you think of Bloodlines?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not like a massive fan of the franchise, but I definitely liked this one. It is for sure in my top 3 of the franchise ranking. It's exactly what I was expecting it to be from the jump. You're showing up for the kills, and there's some pretty good ones in there that I think satisfied a lot of fans of the franchise. Obviously, just kind of with the concept, still very surface level and feels pretty familiar, but I did really like, I think it was a good rebrand or like a soft reboot in the sense of adding lore to, how death works and actually kind of infecting this family for a change rather than just this group of teens that you don't really care about or, anything to begin with. It kind of flipped it on its head just because, like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of people in the earlier installments that you're pretty pumped to see perish in some way. This one, not the case.
Yeah.
I feel like you actually get close to some of the characters. I think Eric might be the best character in the entire franchise for me. Super funny. Loved the kind of twist with him about why, the chain of events didn't happen the way we thought it was going to with him. Definitely the funniest entry for me out of the entire franchise, which is actually, I give 5 a lot of props because I thought they went out of their way to be pretty funny. And then this one I thought kind of steamrolled it in that regard. But yeah, no, I don't think it's the best of the bunch, but like I said, I think it deserves a top 3 spot, and enjoyed myself with it. Enjoyed the send off to Tony Todd. I thought that was a cool way of looping around his character. They kind of made him a real character. Like in the past entries with his involvement, you almost feel like he shows up at a weird time, and then if you looked for him again, he wouldn't even exist. Like he actually felt like a real guy in this one. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I will watch, like I said, it's not Citizen Kane, but I will watch like 10 more of these.
Me too. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Tony Todd send off. It was almost like a wink and a nod that they knew that this was probably going to be the last time you saw him. Like he knew that, the crew knew that, the directors knew that.
I mean, he looked so skinny.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, you definitely. I didn't know. I mean, I'm sure you guys are with me. Like I didn't even know he was sick before that. But if I'd seen that movie, I'd been like, yo, and he was still alive, I'd be like, there's something wrong with that guy. Like, he's not looking too well. So, Matt, what'd you think of that? Because you're. Have you done? Oh yeah, I watched your Candyman reaction. So yeah, how'd you feel about the Tony Todd send off?
Yeah, he's a legend. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, I didn't really get introduced to Candyman till later, but I can see why people love that movie. And him always, like the voice, the aura of him is perfect for a franchise like this or Candyman 2. He just has that like mystique, and he almost feels evil or something. Like there's more to him. He's great though. What's interesting, I felt like he was kind of playing himself in the movie, because he even said Like I'm sick just like Iris is, which I'm assuming, I think he died of cancer. I think. Do you guys remember?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, so he was kind of playing himself in a way. He was just saying, I have the same thing that Iris has, and then he was given his kind of speech. That we've kind of seen that, in final movies for people who are on their way out. Something similar. They kind of give their last little spiel to the audience about living life to its fullest, which happens, obviously to fit in this movie. I thought it was great. I always wish he was in this franchise way more though.
Oh yeah.
His character's so damn interesting. Yeah. And he's got a great name, Bloodworth,
Yeah.
Yeah. He's such a good character going back and watching the other movies, but you're just like, why isn't he in it more?
Yeah.
Because I want to say he's the best character in the franchise, but he's barely in the franchise.
You're right.
Yeah. And he's only in half the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think he's in 1, 5, and 6. Is that
he's in two as well?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
but just for a brief moment, it's the same thing.
Really
but
briefly in 2.
What do you think, Chris? How'd you feel about that?
Oh, I really liked it. I had problems with. I thought the lead was really weak. I thought she might have been one of the weakest ones of the entire franchise. But I did like, one of the things that I've always liked about the Final Destination movies, in particular the first one, is there's so much misdirection. And this movie, I thought, really capitalized on that really, really well. You think it's going one way, and then boom, it kind of goes a different way. Especially with the premonition, which I loved. I think that might have been the best premonition in the entire franchise. It played out for like 15, 20 minutes. It went on for a long time. And when things popped off, you're like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen when it cuts to, and then it's like completely, you're like, oh, who's this girl waking up from a dream instead of it just being a premonition? So I kind of like the curveball that they threw you right off the bat. I thought there was a little bit too much fluff in this one. There were some parts that I thought dragged a little bit, didn't really add much to the movie at all. I liked the deaths a lot, but I got a question here where someone said, what'd you guys think of the CGI? It kind of took me out of it. And I was like, yeah, that was actually kind of one of my gripes too. I think it kind of softened the impact of some of these deaths, because I thought they were pretty creative, but they're so CGI heavy, and these still kind of feel dated, I guess, not like modern CGI. It just seems like they went through that sweatshop treatment where they rushed through it, and it didn't really have the same impact. Didn't have the oh shit factor like some of the other ones. If they just went with a more practical effects approach, I think it could have been way more effective. Although I will say my favorite death in the whole thing, I know you like the garbage one, but I like the MRI.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one.
One
Yeah,
was brutal.
I know. It's probably just as good as the.
Yeah, it was a super CGI heavy there as far as like the death part of was. So that one I was actually kind of squealing a little bit. But yeah, I like the ending a lot.
The Prince Albert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that was one
I'm
of those.
like, is he just really? I mean, is he just really hung? Yeah, I was like, oh no, that's not just the size of his. No, yeah, okay, I understand.
Yeah, that one was brutal. And one of the things I do like about this movie is that no character is off limits. So you just. I wouldn't be surprised if in a Final Destination movie, because obviously with how well this just did, they're going to make 37,000 more, because that's the day and age we live in. But I'm intrigued to see if like they'd kill a main character off pretty early on. That wouldn't surprise me if they did that. But I do like that no characters off limits. Did you guys stick around through the credits at all? I mean, it didn't really. It was more ambiguous than it was actually saying like, hey, we're going to move on with it, but it felt like there's some traction that's really happening for the next.
Well, remind me, I remember there being like some Penny stuff and saying like special thanks to Tony Todd. Is that it?
Going through different articles. So I think what it might have been alluding to is like some stories that they might be throwing out there, and it touched on some of the ones that we'd already seen. So,
yeah. Was there anything about a cruise ship at the end there? Because I feel like I've heard a ton of people in my comments say there's like a trend. Like the first time I saw somebody comment like, hey, I would love to see the next movie be on a cruise ship, and I was like, oh, that's a really great idea. And then I started to see more and more and more and more people say that. So I was wondering if that was maybe at the end we didn't see anything about that.
If that I didn't necessarily, it didn't resonate with me.
Okay.
But I think that's a great idea. That's one of the things that this franchise has done well, is really tapping into fears. Except for number 4, I was like, I've never really feared going to
A
I
NASCAR
guess
race.
I mean, if I was like a big race car driver fan, maybe I'd think about that the whole time I was there. But
That gave me a fear of CGI.
Dude.
It's
right.
I know it's just
Terrible.
that one, my God. But how did you guys feel about the CGI deaths? Did that take you out of it as much as it did me? I mean, it's not like it took off maybe like a half a point for me. It wasn't like the biggest deal, but I just, with the way I've just noticed a big push for more practical effects lately. And it seemed like if they had just gone that route, that movie would have been way more effective in that realm.
Yeah. I don't know if it really bothered me that much, just because I feel like going into the theater, I knew I wasn't expecting anything. It wasn't ILM that worked on this, so I was like, all right, it's probably going to look kind of hokey. But then again, like, I don't really know what a guy's face would look like if a vending machine spiral hit him in the forehead. So like, I guess, I don't have a good point of reference to say if that looks bad or not, but I think it was definitely noticeably like kind of cartoony, just because, like I said, this is the first one I've seen up on like a big screen. The rest, if I'm watching it on the TV at home or something, obviously it'll look a little better with just being a smaller screen.
Right.
So it's definitely more noticeable in the theater. But, that's probably another reason why the MRI kill was my favorite one of the movie, just because I feel like it didn't really require much CGI. Like, it was more inferred, like him kind of being stuck in that and like snapped in half. Like, you knew it was happening because of what the machine does. It didn't really have to give you any crazy CGI elements to go along with it. Like, I found that way more effective than the guy getting run over by the lawnmower or something. Like, I thought it inferred more, and you kind of just know how this piece of machinery works. So that kind of helped me kind of overlook any kind of CGI issue. But I don't think it bothered me that much, because I wasn't expecting it to be very good.
Okay, that's fair. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm with Sully in that regard. I wasn't expecting, it's not like there was no marketing about Tom Savini's going to be working on this movie, or Damien Leone is going to be doing the effects. I kind of expected it to be a CGI fest, but with that, so it didn't ruin anything for me per se, just because of expectation. But with that said, I do think the kills are a lot more effective in this franchise when, like, the MRI, it's a little darker. Yep. Or like the roller coaster in 3, it's night. Yes. That really helps to make it feel more real. Whereas in this movie, most of the kills were as bright as midday you could possibly be.
Right.
So it was just really, really, and I bet if you put on one screen Final Destination 2, and then on the other screen you put Bloodlines, and you compared the CGI, I mean, we're talking like 20 years later, they're probably exactly the same, except for the big sequences in the premonition, like the building and all that.
Yeah.
Just talking about the kills, I thought the quality hadn't improved in 20 years.
I think that's maybe what bothered me a little bit about it.
Yeah, it definitely looked very fake, very, very fake. A lot of the stuff in the premonition where people were falling, and it looked very, very fake. But
I think one of the ones that really sticks out to me the most out of all the kills is the shower curtain, or the shower, what is that, the string where it wraps around his neck
in number 1.
Number 1.
And Todd.
And it's so, I mean, that one's brutal, but it's not gory, and it's it's all practical, and it builds up the tension like to an insane amount, to where you're just like, oh my God, just get in there. So
love that kill, dude. Love that kill. It's the least gory, one of the least gory deaths in the franchise, but it's one of the best.
Yeah, the first Final Destination is surprisingly the least graphic one.
Yeah, it's almost like a gory thriller.
Yeah, and it really came with the sauce as far as the premise was concerned. Did you? I know. Yeah, you both saw The Monkey, and I know a lot of people say that was basically a new Final Destination movie. I actually thought some of the kills in that were, I don't want to say better than this one. They weren't as, but they were creative and they did kind of have a Final Destination feel to them. I don't know how you feel about that. They just some of those actually had me going, ooh, damn. Even though I didn't like that movie really at all, but I thought the kills were pretty sweet.
I bet a part of that was because in the Monkey they were a little more surprising. There was no build up or any, it was kind of like, boom, oh, the realtor, or something like that. Yeah, I agreed with that. The other movie, a terrible movie, but the movie Tarot. You guys remember that one?
Yeah, I never watched Tarot Card movie.
It
was god awful.
Yeah. You say it, yeah, it was terrible. But in the beginning of that movie, very Final Destination, and I was like, oh, okay, like I'm down for this. This is awesome. And then they just threw that in the trash. Similar, but Monkey took it throughout the whole movie, which I thought was cool. But like I said a second ago, I think Monkey, that whole movie is like at night, so I think that really helped the kills in that movie. So
I agree. So why don't we kick off? Why don't we kick off this list? I'm gonna pull this up real fast so we can start getting to the fun stuff. Let me move that. Let's pull this guy up. All right, cool. So, Matt, why don't we start with you? What is at the bottom of the bottom?
Don't let me down here, Matt. Don't let me down.
I think we're gonna build the tension up to this one as much as Final Destination does its kills. But what would you put at number 6, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, just when I consider everything as far as the blueprint for the franchise goes, how's the premonition? How are the deaths? How are the characters? How's the ending? It's got to be the Final Destination 3D, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the Final Destination.
Was it 3D?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
It was. That's why the graphics.
You didn't recognize in the opening.
Well,
no, they're just it's like the yo-yo in Friday the 13th 3. They're like, oh
yeah.
They were capital because I think that one came out in 2009 where like it was peak.
Yeah,
right.
3D. Let's make every movie 3D. So they utilized the gimmick in the worst possible way in that movie because the CGI is like Scorpion King levels. It's so bad.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. Especially when the main characters because they implement the whole he has these little visions just in his everyday life. He kind of has like a quick visual about, okay, there's a snake and then there's a pole. Okay, that's hinting what's going to happen later in the movie, which is when the guy gets ran over by the ambulance because of the symbol. But it looks, like you said, it's like the most cartoon, straight to sci-fi network looking horrible CGI in a big theatrical release. But this movie, surprisingly, though, I will say, some of the deaths are pretty fun. The pool death, I think, is fun, and it's relatable. The girl doesn't die in the car wash, but still kind of fun. What was another one? Let me look at my ranking to see if I know one. But there's some fun death.
Wasn't there the escalator one too? That one was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I actually thought the theater explosion looked pretty good in that, where the girl's like, I'm destined to watch this movie or something, and then just the whole place blows up.
Actually, that happened when I saw Final Destination. There was some Karen in there that started yelling in the middle of the movie because there were some kids that were like, there's some kids sitting there squealing watching the movie. Yeah, it's like no. I was like, oh my god, it's like the Final Destination in here is hilarious. But, so I think it's safe to say all of us would put number 4 at the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I'm
not gonna change my opinion there. Yeah,
I will say though there was also the car wash death in that one. That one was pretty cool.
Yeah, unfortunately she didn't die.
But yeah, the build up to it. But
it plays on that. It's cool because everybody's been in a car wash, so it kind of plays on that, which is kind of fun. But
yeah, and one thing I will say about this movie is it has probably the best poster of them all. That's a really freaking cool poster, I think, out of all of them.
I forget what is it. Is there like nails or something?
Yeah.
What is it? Okay.
Yeah,
like the shards of glass.
Yeah, shards of glass or something. Let me see if I can pull up.
The nails or the poles or whatever. That's in 5. That's the poster for 5.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Yeah.
Here, let's see if I can pull this up real fast.
Yeah, some fun posters though overall in the franchise. They're pretty solid.
I like kind of when horror franchises have that similar postered theme. Like I'm a sucker for all of the early Scream posters where it's kind of like it just looks like they're in an angsty band in black t-shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
And they kind of do
all
that
of them lined up.
perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah. So it's this one, Matt. I just think the skull right here in the face with the glass breaking. I think that one looks really freaking sweet.
You're already on the page. You should, for $20, buy all of us one of these if you don't
Do
mind.
it.
I'll send them to you, Sully.
Please.
Okay.
There's a certificate of authenticity down below. You see
hell
that? I
yeah.
love that.
Oh,
Yeah, I need the legit, no knockoffs. I need the legit, the Final Destination poster.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
just
You
as a
could
troll,
put it in
have it in
your,
the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sully, you could put it in your Norman Bates layer.
There you go. That's a good idea. I should, for just like as a joke, my entire YouTube set should be movies that I think are absolutely the worst.
Dude, you would it'd probably increase the engagement on all of your videos for all of us because people would just immediately comment.
Yeah.
Who is this?
What
guy?
are you thinking? Why is that there?
Yeah. I'm actually going to start doing a watch along series where I just watch like the worst movies ever made because I've had some fans reach out and they're like, dude, everybody watches like all these classic movies and nobody watches the dog shit ones like Mystery Science Theater.
Yep.
So I'm going to be watching Velocipaster for my first one.
Ooh,
So,
dude. All right. I
yeah.
might have mentioned this to you on a previous stream, but just saying you have to put it on your radar because I think you didn't see it. You need to put The Bubble from Judd Apatow on that list.
Oh, I remember. You know what's funny is
it is god awful.
Yeah, I had someone on who was talking about that, and he said he was like, "Yeah, you know, it was actually one of those comedies that was actually pretty decent." And I was like, "Oh, well,
no, wrong."
I was like, one of my good buddies just told me that it's like one of the worst movies ever made.
It's terrible.
Although,
I mean, just watch The Weeknd's new movie, I guess. When that drops on home video. Apparently, that's supposed to be god awful.
This past week, and it is as bad as you think it is. It's 10 times worse.
Damn.
Yeah, I didn't even review it. I was like, this is one of those movies. Like, I just want my time back. I don't even want to think about this movie anymore. But it's just
Jenna Ortega must have gotten the bag for that.
I guess, dude. Have you seen some of the scenes floating out there on Twitter and
where
stuff?
She's like dancing?
Zero.
It's like she's like dancing around him. Yeah, well, it's like kind of like a Misery thing.
It's Misery, but with the way she's promoting his own music. It's weird, dude.
Yeah, it's to his own music. It's very self-indulgent.
So it's just like Trap, basically.
Yeah.
It's Trap all over again. It's just like, here's my
Yeah, but The Weeknd wants, you know, he's like, oh, but let's put my music in there instead. So
I'm upset I didn't see it though, because I would have liked to review it with the tagline. If I thought it was that bad, it would have been hurry up credits. But didn't end up seeing it.
Yeah, because I know
still time.
You said recently like you're just doing either movies that are either good, not mid. You're gonna do like movies that are good or terrible, right? So
I want to talk about 1.5 and below and 4 stars and up movies. You know, like I just feel like if I'm talking about a 3-star movie, I'm not excited to like, oh, this is pretty good, this is bad in this area. Like I want something that's actually gonna get the blood pumping a little bit.
Right.
Those are the worst movies to review, man. The ones in the middle.
I'm doing one this week. That's I told myself I wasn't going to, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah,
but.
I'm with you, man. I've ditched so many reviews that I like was ready to record, and I was just like, dude, my heart is not in this.
I don't have.
There's not enough to talk about. So forget it.
Yeah,
I'm on to the next thing. I'll talk about a movie that's 40 years old instead. How about that?
Yes.
I totally feel that. And what's funny lately is I watched the new Tom Segura show this past week and reviewed it, and it blew up on TikTok. And the amount of people that were like, I'm not following you anymore if you like this filth. And I was like, listen, I just thought it was funny as hell. I said, it's not for everybody. It's basically like Black Mirror written by 15-year-old boys who got stoned in their locker room. Like, I was like, I'm the target demographic for that. I think
they clearly were not raised on Superbad and American Pie, and you know,
it's either like, you know, the younger generation or just like boomers who are like, you kids, you have no sense of humor. And I'm like, I don't know, I was laughing the whole time watching this movie. So
I'm writing that on your whatever next video you put out.
I'm not following you.
100%.
You like this filth.
Yeah, you know, it's funny with what we do. It's like, you know, for the most part, like 90% of the stuff you get, people are like real supportive and real cool. They're like, yeah, I really like what you did here. And then you get the peanut gallery that comes in and is just like, you're an idiot. And if you mispronounce something, they're like, oh, I'm not going to take anything you say seriously ever again. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, I barely remember my kids' names half the time. Like, you expect me to remember every person's name ever, but I know Sully, that's your trick. You remember everything, but
Dude,
us middle-aged dudes.
Yeah,
we
I
forget
know.
things.
I know. That is one of my things though. Like, I mean, I was an English major in college and everything like that. So I really go above and beyond. Like, I seriously don't think I've mispronounced anything while making a YouTube video, but then the camera comes off and I'm just like speaking gibberish. So I save it for that little slice of my life.
Yeah. Every once in a while, man. I mean, there's only so much time in a day. So it's like, I'll make this long ass video and then I'm like, oh, I mispronounced a name. Or I don't care.
No.
And most people don't. But then you have those ones that'll be like, hey, you didn't say your name. You're not a fan of this series. And I'm like, listen, there's 70 characters I was going through. I'm sorry that I mispronounced one.
You just send those people to the YouTube void.
Yep.
You know,
yeah,
exactly. Argue with the wall.
Well, you can imagine, you know, I mean, Dune, obviously a franchise and a book series that's people are diehard fans of. I reviewed it a long time ago. Dune, I think it was the original one or something like that. Pronounced Denis' name wrong. And 500 comments follow. But speaking of being shit on, I was shit on for my review, my reaction to the teaser trailer for Final Destinations, the one with Eric in the tattoo shop.
Oh.
People were, because I was like, that's kind of lame. He's just gonna fall and then there's gonna be a fire. That's weak. I wish they could have done better. And that's the most hated video I've posted in the last year, easily. Wow. The most disliked, the comments are, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about. And guess who was right, bitch?
Yeah.
I think, no, I'll hand up. I'm pretty sure I
all jokes aside.
Dislike, I think I disliked that one, but
I think some videos when they get a little bit of hate, I think it finds the algorithm, and then like dead internet theory really comes to be, where you're like, these are just bots from India. Like they because a lot of, I don't know if you've noticed this, Matt, but like a lot of, because I've had a few videos where like some have gotten really big, and then all of a sudden you're getting the same comment over and over about how you're an idiot or you're just yapping too much. And I'm like, I'm literally talking about the movie here, so it's like my job to yap, I guess. But I've noticed
my dad does that.
Yeah,
he'll turn on Sports Center and be like, these guys talk too much. That's literally their job, is talking.
Yeah.
Well, you want to watch the Nature Channel or something?
So Matt, I've noticed you. I think last time we talked, you were saying that you're trying to branch out a little bit more from the horror side of things, and I know you did like a James Bond video. How are you finding the reaction? Because when I had Cody Leach on here, I was talking to him about it, and he started out doing nothing but horror. And then now he's a big movie critic on YouTube. And I was like, how is it? He's like, look, I know my bread and butter's horror. Like, that's the thing that people really want to see me do. He's like, but I'm lucky enough that I don't just talk about horror, because that would drive me fucking insane if I had to do that all the time. And I know that's exactly what you told me. So I was wondering how that's going for you.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. This is kind of like my second life with content in a little bit of a way, because pre-kids, my wife was in grad school many years ago. I started a gaming channel, and that eventually evolved into covering. I was mainly streaming and playing a game called DayZ Standalone, which is like a post-apocalyptic zombie game. Great game, love it. And it really started to do pretty well, and I really enjoyed it, but got so pigeonholed in that game. And anybody who's ever made content knows, once you start, it's great to have a niche. And if you can stay within that niche, your chances of being successful are much higher.
Right.
Your chances of viewership, because the algorithm knows what to push. The viewers know what is coming, But from a humanity perspective and a sanity perspective.
Yeah, you're losing your mind.
Yeah.
It's like, dude. And video games are a little different. One game for years and years and years can drive you crazy. Like covering horror, there's always going to be cool movies and old movies, and there's a lot of variety, which is awesome. But I occasionally get that itch, because I just love, like you guys, I just love movies, man. I love the Bond franchise. Mission Impossible's coming out. Love that franchise. Love Star Wars. Love all that. Like, genuinely really love it. So the reception, pretty good. I mean, just as like, but with that stuff, that it's more like for me in a way, like I just love talking about it. But whether or not I'll continue to keep branching out, it's kind of I'll keep feeling it out. You know what I mean? I would love to. I can't I don't know if I can cover just one genre all the time because there's some huge lulls.
Yeah.
Even in superheroes and anything, you know. And it's kind of like when I was on Twitch, and especially in the gaming space, everybody's always jealous of the variety streamers who people show up no matter what you do because, you know, it's just great. It's just like reviewing movies. You know, if people will show up regardless if it's action or horror, that's the dream, you know?
Right.
So, yeah. But one thing I will say, you guys were talking about the negativity and comments and stuff. One thing that's great about the horror genre, which keeps me around even more, is that it's so different because it's not like posting, I would imagine, a Star Wars video or something like that. I could imagine that comment section can get crazy.
Yeah.
Especially if you take a pretty stark stance on anything. Whereas the horror genre, it's not really that way. People are so cool about if you hate Halloween 5 or you hate Scream 3 or you love it. People might say you're wrong, but it doesn't get crazy because these aren't like cinematic masterpieces and everybody knows that. They're just fun, you know.
Hate Scream 3. Yeah, I hate it.
Is it last for you in the franchise?
Yes.
Yeah. I can understand. Yeah, it's such a ridiculous movie.
I actually like Scream 3. I just feel it is too meta for its own good, but I think that's kind of what makes it endearing.
I got
that movie got killed by, if I remember correctly, it got killed by Columbine. I mean, that movie got kind of crushed because of Columbine.
Yeah.
Is that right? I don't think I ever knew that.
I didn't know that either.
They had to change the whole story. Originally Stu Macher was going to come back, and it was going to be about him kind of mentoring high school kids and Ghostface.
Wow.
But they're like, well, you know, after what just happened, one of the biggest events in American history, we're gonna go with something that's a little lighter and But anyways, that's a tangent for another time.
Sounds like a cool movie though.
But
at
dude,
least back in the Deadpool versus Wolverine Scream 7, so they're just like throwing everything that's ever happened in that franchise at the wall at that one.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen there.
Yeah. Who knows, man? I mean, I'm hoping for the best with Kevin Williamson. He doesn't have a long history of directing great things. He did have that movie Sick, which was like straight to streaming.
A lot of people didn't like that. I liked that, but
yeah. Being a slasher fan, you liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it. I had fun with it.
Exactly. It was like it was like an hour and a half chase scene, but I liked it. So
I don't understand why they brought him back to not write it though. I was like, why are you just having him direct it? Like this dude kicked the whole series off. Why? I know that's a conversation for another day, but it just seemed really weird that they're like, hey, we're doing everything here. We're bringing Kevin Williamson back, but just to direct it, not to write it, which is what he's known for. So
let's hope it's good.
Yep. And you know, I meant to preface this video. I was like, these two guys right here. I was like, I'm glad we all have jobs, because if my job was just to talk to you guys all day, I wouldn't get anything else done.
I don't blame you, bro.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I thought you were gonna say I wouldn't be able to survive.
Yeah. I think my longest live streams are with both of you guys. So
oh my God, I know
you both on here today. And Sully's like, I got a solid 90 minutes. And I was like, dude, when was the last time we had a 90-minute?
I also just like, you know, it's one of those things. It's like a gambling addict. I'm like, this is my last quarter. Like I always say that. And then I'm like, oh, I find more somewhere, you know?
Yep. No, I totally get it, man. It's that's why I love having you guys on, and I've been following Matt, and it's also like, you know, our thing's new. Me and Sully have been going at it for a little bit, so it's been fun, dude. I love,
man.
I love chatting with all you guys. So let me see here. Let me pull put this guy up. All right, there we go.
And with movies too, like we love it. So we could go on tangents for hours,
dude.
That's like, hey, let's talk Final Destination. Then we talk about Scream for like an hour.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, and then the other thing is we're all sports fans, so we could fall down that rabbit hole too. And then I could also just like get on the internet and fall into these ridiculous claims that we're going to live to 120 mid-age.
Yeah. I can't wait to rub that one in your face when we're 120.
Yeah, you know what? If we're still doing this, if there's still the internet around when we're 120, man, I'll pay you. We're going to be 120. GTA 6 will have just come out.
I know,
we're gonna be chilling. So
be in Miami, chilling in GTA.
Literally.
Speaking of sports, it looks like the Thunder it's over.
Oh, they beat the Nugs. All right.
I mean, they're up by like 40. So it's over.
Excuse me, my Celtics were up by 30 numerous times on the Knicks
Dude,
and
I don't,
didn't work out
yeah,
for
I
them.
don't, I didn't want to bring that up with
all right.
you.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what
I mean, it
happens
is
when you're a star
Titletown,
player.
so
It is.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'm from
basketball-
SAC, so I'm the opposite.
Right. Basketball is not it's my least favorite of the main four sports, but we got it last year, so I'll take what I can get,
Yeah, and see, I'm bittersweet about that, Sully, because we had Luca in Dallas and everything was
Oh
going
my God.
great.
I forgot about
Now it's
that.
been
Yeah.
nothing but
Oh,
shit
let's not
show
get
out
started
there.
on this fucking tangent.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's not get started. Let me get my tinfoil real quick.
Yeah, that's well. Then now,
Oh
yeah,
my
'cause now
God.
we landed the first pick, and then we're gonna get Cooper Flag, only for him to be traded away a few years into his reign in the NBA. Yeah, there's no, like, everybody was like, this thing's so rigged, and I normally people would probably be pretty excited for this, but most people in Dallas are just like, whatever. The management in that team is just ridiculous. So
Are they're not even really hyped
no,
about the pick, really?
not
Damn.
really. No. Well, I mean, like Luca was so loved. Like, imagine having that sort of player on your team where like a whole city just loves you, and then he's gone, and it's like the wind just completely left the sails,
And the GM comes out publicly and says, I was not aware the fans loved him so much.
That's
I'm like,
whack.
yeah, you go to a Mavs game and it's 95% Luca jerseys there. Like, how did you not know that, dude? I don't know.
I love
ahead,
how
Sully.
Matt was like, imagine if we started talking about sports.
Here we go. Yep.
Yep, it'll happen. Well, I know, Matt. Didn't you start like a sports YouTube page for a minute there?
I mean, if I could cut myself in half and then just be able to do more content, put my kids up for adoption, divorce my wife, then I would maybe have the time to do. Yeah, I have a sports channel. It's one of those things, like, I would love to do it. Just where's the time?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I totally understand that. All right, well, let's get back to the rankings. All right, so what do we have coming in at number 5 for you?
At number 5,
This is when things are going to start to get spicy.
This is where I put Final Destination 3.
Okay.
It's probably out. It's a little bit of a love-hate because I think in this franchise might have like the biggest collection of like dirtbag characters, other than the people from the introduction of the Final Destination. So you're like happy to see him die, but then I'm also watching being like, these guys are insufferable. Like, I don't want to spend any more time with them. Like we talked about earlier, the dude with the camcorder, I couldn't take another second with that guy. It was just terrible. Which I guess obviously the character was supposed to be terrible, so hats off to that actor. I guess he did his job, but I did like having the little Sully side note. I did like how the main guy in this movie. I used to go on a rabbit hole of Disney Channel original films, not movies, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen Luck of the Irish. Have you seen that one?
Is that the newer one?
No. It's like 90s where like this
okay.
guy's grandfather is a leprechaun and he gives him a special necklace and then he becomes unbelievable basketball. I can't tell you why that connects. Those two things.
It's like a
connect.
spin-off of all the Air Bud and
Literally,
all that.
it's like Mike, but with like an Irish necklace.
Nice.
So liked seeing him in that one, but
I'm pretty sure being Irish makes us terrible at basketball.
That's my worst sport by far.
Like me, 5'10" white guy.
Yeah, same exact speed over here. But I also think in the pro category, I do really like Mary Elizabeth Winstead as the kind of final girl in this one.
Yeah,
I pretty much liked seeing her pop up in any movie.
There's
that, but I wasn't too impressed with the deaths. Not that much better of CGI than the Final Destination for me. And I don't know, I just didn't really, I was getting kind of sick of the roller coaster, honestly. And I think if the main premonition that these whole things are centered around, obviously, is a big part of each of these entries. So if I'm kind of like not vibing with that, it's not gonna rank very highly. So that's why it's second to last for me.
That's fair. And Matt, what about you?
Yeah, number 5 for me is actually Final Destination 5 for me. And number 5, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I had kind of a hard time with some of these movies because even the great ones have some really terrible parts of them, you know, like really bad characters or whatever. But in five kind of works like a V for me. That's like the best way I explain it. I said that in my video too, is like the premonition is really, really fun. It's massive. It looks surprisingly very realistic, and the kills are awesome. The guy gets those poles to his face. His eye kind of droops down. He falls off. He hits the foundation. Splat. It's just a really cool premonition. But I mean, good God. Before that premonition, when we're getting introduced to these characters, you're like, these might be the worst characters in this entire franchise. This girl's like stripping down to her bra in front of her coworker,
in front of her boss,
and these guys are like breaking up, and it's like, I don't give it. I could care less about your breakup. And then they're whining about Paris for the middle of the movie. The middle of the movie, take it or leave it for me. Although I mean, the LASIK death, that's a very memorable one. The gymnastics death.
Yeah, the LASIK death is one of the better ones in the whole series, I think.
Yeah, those are really good. I like those a lot. My only gripe with those is they're a little bit niche. I like things that are like that you'll just see in your everyday life. My wife was a gymnast growing up. We really like gymnastics, so that one hits pretty good for us.
I like that one too. Yeah, that's a good one.
But it's a little bit niche. I would imagine people who are have never seen gymnastics at the Olympics or something like that would kind of be like,
yeah, I've never stepped foot on a balance beam.
Well, yeah, definitely not.
So,
but it's got some good fake outs, you know, with the little screw, and that's fun. But the end, I mean, the end of 5 is a damn good time, right? Yeah. The huge twist of Flight 180. It's all a prequel, which they hide pretty well. Going back and watching the movie, I really tried to spot out, okay, is there any maybe 2000s or 2010s cars lurking around that they accidentally put in? I'm like, damn, no. This actually was from that. They really did a good job of making it a 2099 movie, but it was hidden pretty well.
Yeah.
So yeah, great ending. And I also love the very, very end when it's like, hey, yeah, you switched spots with that guy. Great job. But by the way, he's got an enlarged blood vessel in his brain. He was supposed to die any minute now. Yeah. And then he gets crushed by the tire, and then his arm like flies at the screen, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a V for me. It's fun, and then that, and then, you know, ends pretty damn well.
I agree. And I also like the douchey, I can't remember what role he plays, but it's the guy, the acupuncture guy. Like the whole
he's like the chubby, nerdy womanizer.
Yeah, or I guess the toxic masculinity sort of dude or whatever.
That guy's always working. He's in a ton of stuff.
He is. Yeah, he's in a ton of stuff. And he always plays that. He was in The Boys, right? Or
he's in The Boys as like the director, like the Michael Bay kind of like director guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he play the same kind of guy, like an asshole?
He always plays an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah. In the massage parlor with trying to get the happy ending.
Yeah. I think I'm with Sully on this. I put Final Destination 3 there, and like you said, Matt, it's not a bad thing. I still really like Final Destination 3 for what it was. I actually disagree a little bit with Sully on it. I think the kills in this one are actually pretty iconic. Like the tanning bed one, I love that one. It's ridiculous, but it's back when that came out was like when every girl I knew in the planet was going to tanning beds.
I think that one is an age thing.
Yeah, like, that one resonated a lot.
For our era, like you said, there was a tanning salon on everywhere. There was probably more tanning salons than Starbucks, you know?
Yeah. It felt like there was a Palm Beach tan, you know, on every corner right next to the Starbucks, you know? Yeah. So that one I think resonated with me more when I watched it back then. The roller coaster thing is like I was really big into roller coasters, so I think that whole tapping into that fear was one of the better things for me at the time. But as you said, none of the characters are really that likable, and I think that is a hats off to Bloodlines, because I think not necessarily likable characters, but you at least cared and didn't want to see anything bad happen to them. And Final Destination 3, I'm like, man, you could kill any one of these characters. I really don't care.
Yeah, I really like Mary Elizabeth Winstead too, just like you guys. But she's a little whiny in the movie for me. But
yeah, she's a little.
But she's still great. She's one of the best characters in the franchise.
A little too neurotic, manic, I guess you could say, in that movie. But
hey, it's proof though that the worst Final Destination movies are the ones that don't really feature Tony Todd.
Yeah.
Hey, you know. Yeah, because he's not in 3, right?
He's the only thing. His voice is in 3. I actually got it. He's the devil roller coaster voice, but
oh, is he really? I didn't notice that. Okay, I mean that's a hard voice to not notice, but
right.
Yeah, I didn't know that until like a month ago or a couple weeks ago.
Chris, you're too busy watching all that filth to notice that.
I know, man. I really got to work on that. Mispronouncing characters' names and whatnot.
Yeah, I heard Matt say Denis Villeneuve about
Denis. No. Calm down. We don't want to start this again.
Yeah, you're opening up. You're giving him some PTSD
old wounds.
right there. Yeah, old wounds.
I kind of want to cover Star Wars just because of that, because I know if I take some sort of a stance on something, people are just gonna lose their mind.
You should start it off by saying, man, Dune really ripped off Star Wars in these movies.
Yeah,
Good
luck with that one.
Then you'll get people coming out the woodwork and be like, "No, Star Wars ripped off Dune." So
just get some.
That's a fun tangent conspiracy. That's a fun one.
I've seen that online where people are like, "Man, Dune is just a boring ripoff of Star Wars," and it's like, well, the book came out 20 years before Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It's like George Lucas literally ripped it off, with the Force and Tatooine and all that stuff. So
this is news to me.
Oh, well,
Is it? I mean, I've always looked at Star Wars as like it's basically just Nazi Germany versus the Allies. Like, literally the Empire is black and red, and they march. And anyways, tangent.
Yes,
Final Destination.
100%.
Yeah, Final Destination. And real quick sidebar: did you guys watch Andor?
I'm not done with it yet.
Okay,
but I know I'm at the cusp where it becomes like generational Star Wars content.
Dude, it's so good. I put my review out and somebody was like, people need to chill on these reviews. I saw one YouTuber say it was the best show ever made, and I was like, no, dude, it's not even the best show on right now, but for Star Wars, it was some of the better content that's been released in the last 30 years.
I love that first season. I think the first season alone was already the best thing that Disney's ever done with the property. Yeah. But so I'm sure I'm going to feel like that even more on season 2. So
yeah, 2's even better. And then another sidebar: if you guys aren't watching Mobland on Paramount Plus right now, that needs to be like on your absolute to watch list.
Billy Bob?
No, it's Tom Hardy and Pierce Brosnan. It's a Guy Ritchie show.
Matt, you're getting confused with the Mans. That's Landman.
Landman.
Too many bands.
Another streaming service I don't have.
Yeah. Well, if you can, I can't recommend that show enough. It is the best show on TV right now, and it's not even close.
Is Tom Hardy actually in it a lot?
Yes, he's the main character in the show.
Good.
He plays basically like a cleanup guy for a mafia family, which is Pierce Brosnan's family. It's Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren, and it's got that Guy Ritchie sharp dialogue. The whole scenario that's unleashing is basically like mobs going to war with each other, family deaths, things like that. Dude, it is so good, and not enough people are talking about it.
Dude, I love those types of characters, like the guy in Pulp Fiction. What is his nname? The Wolf or whatever, or like just the cleanup guy, or fucking George Clooney in the what's that movie where he's a lawyer?
Where he's the lawyer, Michael Clayton.
Great, Michael Clayton. Great movie.
Great movie.
Those characters, I'll have to check it out.
No, they're super interesting.
I can't recommend it enough. I know Sully's a big Guy Ritchie guy, so I'd highly recommend checking that out.
I do dabble in some Guy.
Yeah. All right, so we got number 4 here, and on number 4. See, this is where it gets a little iffy for me, but actually, Matt, why don't you kick it off? You got yours right in front of you.
Yeah. I filmed my ranking just right before this, so it kind of works out.
So it's fresh in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I've had to cough a lot, just sore the throat. But yeah, for number 4, this was tough. My last 4 really tough, really, really tough. I had a hard time actually with this one, but I put Bloodlines at number 4, and the reason just being, it's a damn fun time, really, really fun. We already talked about it quite a bit, so I won't talk about it too much. But the opening premonition I think is one of the best in the franchise without question. The acting, some of the best actors, actually like real characters that kind of seem like real humans, which is cool too. I'm trying to remember some of my gripes with the movie. Great death scenes, like I said, that were relatable and really, really fun and gory and all of that. But I think the reason why I had it at 4 is just kind of nitpicky stuff. Like the very end of the movie, it was just kind of average.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a really fun movie, but
I know I mentioned it, but how'd you feel about Stephanie as the lead? Do you think she was one of the weaker leads in the series, or did you like her? I felt she was kind of I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't really she didn't pop off the screen as like, oh damn, like I really need to see her in more stuff. Like a character like Eric. Eric was definitely a character. It was like, oh, like I would love to see him in more movies in the franchise.
Yeah,
I thought she was a good actress, but a little forgettable.
Yeah, sure.
So, nothing against her, as I think she's talented, but yeah, she was okay.
I think that's the thing.
Her dad was kind of insufferable though. I felt like her dad was probably the worst actor in the movie.
Yeah, and he didn't really bring anything as a dad either to it. He just seemed kind of like what's going on? All right,
where was he at the end? Where was he at the end?
I know.
Like they're in the hospital doing whatever, God knows what they're doing, and then they're driving off to Iris's fortress. Dad's just at home making grilled cheese sandwiches or something.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, well, dad raised us and our mom just bailed on us, but now me and mom are best friends, and she's all of a sudden a big part of the movie. That's funny. I didn't even think about that till just now.
I didn't think about it till my second watch. I was like, where's Dad? Wait, I was like, did I miss his death? No. But anyways.
And all right, Sully, what you got at number 4?
At number 4 is where I go with Final Destination 2, actually.
Okay. All right.
I like the tone. It's the most similar to the original, which I really like. But there is a part of me where it just kind of feels like, and I mean, this is such an simplification of the entire franchise kind of when I say it, but like it feels like it's the same thing in a different setting. I feel like other films in the franchise try to shake it up tonally a little bit more.
Be right back.
So it kind of just does that thing again where, is this the only time in the franchise too where we're following, like, one of the main characters was a main character in the previous iteration as well, because we're following
with clear river,
clear waters, whatever her name is,
Clear Rivers.
And I liked following her around. I thought she was a decent enough actress to carry the film, but already forgot about everyone else other than her, and Tony Todd. But it's interesting because I do think the highway pileup and the log truck might be the most iconic death out of the entire franchise, or the entire moment, the moment in the entire franchise. So it has some, not necessarily bad, has some pretty high highs, but then the rest is kind of just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm not like too hot on it, but still a solid entry.
I do agree with you. That one does have a lot riding on the opening scene.
Yeah. It kicks it off with a bang.
It does kick it off with a bang. There are some pretty cool deaths in there, but usually, but to the characters, you're kind of like, I don't really care that they live or die.
Yeah.
I do like Clear. I would like to see whatever really happened to her. I don't think they ever touch on that, do they?
I can't remember, because I know they went off screen with Devon Sawa, right? So I don't remember if they gave her the same treatment.
They said he was dead, but you never saw it. So
right.
I mean, obviously that could be something that creeps back around. Did Matt? We were just talking. Did Clear die in Final Destination 2? I can't remember.
I know, right? I was thinking this. I was wondering the same thing, and I was trying to think if later on they kind of hinted at her death either or mentioned it. But honestly, I don't remember anything. Like Devon Sawa, like you said, there's that news article that talks about like the falling brick that killed Devon Sawa, and it does mention that Clear was either there in the article or she called the police or something or whatever.
Well, she does die, actually. All right, now I do have.
Yeah, I'm seeing this. She was like incinerated or something.
Yeah, she was fatally incinerated in an oxygen explosion. So
I wonder where that pops up.
Attempting to save Eugene.
Number 3.
See, again, no idea who Eugene is, because the characters, like, I just didn't follow them in this one.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Let me see. Who's Eugene? Who are we working with here?
So yeah,
is
he
Eugene
had
the
that-
guy from on the motorcycle? Maybe, I don't know. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good question. I like Clear.
Because I was gonna say I'd like to see some more returning faces to the franchise, but like we mentioned earlier, it's like no one's off limits. But with the Devon Sawa one, he could easily come back, and we never saw him die. It was all off.
What's interesting though is like if you made him come back, it almost feels like he should have played the role of the Bloodlines grandmother, like because he's like been through it before. He's going to be the guy that's battle tested, and no one believed him and everything. But obviously they went that route already with this one, so I don't know what it would look like if he came back.
There was a part of me when they went to Iris's cabin. I was thinking that when they showed him, it was going to be maybe Clear. As the grandma, and then she was going to kind of say like, oh, I had to change my name because of whatever, but they just went with a totally new character. But I thought that was an opportunity to maybe tie it into another charter.
Imagine having your name being Clear Rivers and having to change it. Such a sick name.
Yeah, I was wondering in Bloodlines too with Iris's grandma, or Stephanie's grandma Iris. I was like, man, what an exhausting existence. Like you have cancer and you're still living every day like like this in this cabin in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, you clearly can't hold down a stable job. So how do you pay for all that stuff?
She definitely does the like online surveys for like coupons and stuff. Like,
yeah. Well, okay, she hasn't left her house in 20 years. What?
Yeah.
Does she have like a tube where people deliver the groceries and they get sucked in like a bank?
There has to be. But like you think about that, a tube apparatus has like Final Destination
Very
explosion
dangerous.
written all over it. So I don't know.
And what I could talk about her forever. Right. There's so many things with Iris I don't understand, but. So her compound that's really fortified, she like set it up so it's supposed to kill you, basically. What's up with that? Why is there spikes everywhere and puddles of water? And if you look, there's barrels. There's explosive barrels like you see in Final Destination 4 at the end. They're like in her front yard. I don't know. How does that help you defeat death? I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, if you try to get into things that don't make any sense in this movie, you probably be spinning in circles for quite a long time.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say about Iris, and then she screws the whole family. She just says, "Fuck you guys, you're all gonna die now." Yeah, that's true. I'm not gonna. And I get she was gonna die any day now.
Yeah,
I get it. She was probably gonna die any day now, but she was like, you know what? I'm going to kill myself, so now death is coming for you. Oh, thanks, Grandma.
I just got to prove to you that what I'm saying isn't nonsense. And then the only part, well, not the only part, there's quite a few things that don't make any logical sense in this movie. But one of the things that actually drove me crazy about Bloodlines was she knew exactly which order people were going to die. And I was like, how do you know? How is that supposed to be, I mean, there's far reaches in Final Destination movies, but I was like, how do you know that it's going to go this way and not just all at once? And then when they were all driving to the hospital, I was like, what a perfect time to kill every single one of them.
Right.
You could just start with the oldest and go to the youngest.
Easy. That's another one where it's just like pile up. They're all gone.
Yep, they're all gone. There you go.
Death wins again.
That's just washing his hands of it. All right. So at number 4, I've got Final Destination 5. So, and I agree with a lot of what Sully was saying about Final Destination 2. It's really got a lot riding on that opening scene after that. But it is such a blast what happens there, and it's so resonant, sticks with me every time I'm driving and I see an 18-wheeler with logs or not. But with Final Destination 5, and like I said, every movie outside of 4 I actually like. So it's like, anybody can put these movies in any order that they need to. But with Final Destination 5, I think it had I think it's one of the longer ones too out of all of them. I like a lot of the deaths. I think they're okay, but like you mentioned, Matt, earlier, the characters I couldn't care less about in this movie. Don't care about their side plots. Don't care about anything that's happening in their lives. And then, but the twist really is what sold it when I first saw that movie, because I didn't know about it. And then when I saw it, I was like, hell yeah, that was freaking awesome way to end a Final Destination movie, especially coming off of The Final Destination, which was one of those movies that I think is so bad it's hard to even get through.
It was almost a franchise killer.
It was, man. It's so like it's there's some horror movies, and Matt knows this better than anybody, that are just so bad you love them. But with that movie, it's just so bad. It's hard to even sit through.
Yeah, what's funny about Final Destination 5 too is Devon Sawa. They invited him to the red carpet for Final Destination 5, and he was kind of like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll come. He didn't know that he was actually going to be in the movie.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty decent dude. I follow him on Twitter, and he's always posting stuff about. And then I like seeing him. Like, he was in the Chucky series, which was nice to see, and then he was in the Hard Eyes recently. So it's like I'm hoping he's like kind of steady. Maybe one day he gets back into the Final Destination movies, because that horror movie, nobody's actually really dead.
That first season of the Chucky show cooked. That one took me by surprise. I actually really liked that.
Yeah, the season 2, it just went.
I didn't even watch, but I did like that first season.
Did you watch it, Matt? That seems right up your alley now.
And it's just like one of those things that was on the list, Yeah. Like I'm still trying to chug through The Last of Us.
Dude, season 2 is just brutal. It's I'm having such a hard time.
Dude, it feels like nothing has happened, and there's 2 episodes left.
I know, and it's like I played the game, so I knew the big twist was gonna happen, and I didn't necessarily. I was like, there's the internet's either like this is the best game ever, it's the worst, and I was just kind of like, I didn't really care about it that much. I think the first one's one of the greatest games ever made.
I love part 2.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I know. I got
part 2 guy.
I got buddies that love it, but I was very indifferent on it. But then when this season came through, man, it's just been so hard.
It's been a slog.
It's so hard to get through.
I'm like halfway through the most recent episode, and I'm like, wait, she's still playing the guitar?
I know.
Dude, I don't know why they did that.
I don't want to see her play the guitar anymore. Stop.
I know.
They skip so much stuff, and they keep leaving in all the guitar stuff.
Yeah. It's anyway,
tangent.
Tangent. All right, so what do we got at number 3 here? This is where it gets real interesting.
At 3 for me is where I have Bloodlines.
Bloodlines for you?
Yeah, no, like I said, I just think it's a nice little refresh. Liked the addition to the lore of it kind of going through a family tree. Think it's a little bit of a push and a pull, though, because like we were talking about, probably has the best acting, and I like these characters a lot out of the rest of the franchise, but in a way that takes a little bit of the fun out of it for me, because you want to see them die less, because the other ones you're kind of like rooting for all the scumbags to perish in the most embarrassing way possible. But I didn't feel that in this one, but I do think it had pretty solid writing, give or take on the dialogue, but like the actual story beats, some good updated kills. Really enjoy that first premonition. It has to be the longest lasting premonition out of any of the movies. Like, it really felt like it was like that could have just been a short film that ended when the whole place blew up, if it wasn't a Final Destination movie.
Did you laugh when the kid got crushed by the piano?
My theater erupted. Like, it was, everyone couldn't wait for that little shit to expire, so to speak.
As soon as he walked out of the tower and he had a smile on his face,
you knew
I started laughing out loud.
Yeah, you knew he was done for.
And he kicked off the whole sequence of events too, that little bastard.
Yeah, little shit. But yeah, no, I like that. I like this one. I do think it's going to have the effect for me, though. This is just, this obviously isn't any kind of a drag on the movie itself, because it can't really control this. But the same way that I feel about going from Final Destination 1 to 2, I feel like I'm going to feel like going from Bloodlines to whatever the inevitable sequel is that they come out with next, where they're kind of just going to do that similar formula, which is why I was like, okay, I wanted them to shake it up even more, which they do later in the franchise. So it almost feels like I'm almost living in a Final Destination movie with how I feel about these movies. It's just like a cycle kind of going back and forth with it. Right. But no, I like this one. I kind of agree with you guys. I thought it was kind of a weak lead. Didn't care about her 100%. Eric's great, though, kind of offsets the whole thing for me. I really think he's the best character in the entire franchise. But yeah, no, I dug this one. Definitely a top 3 film for me.
Is Bloodlines? I might be wrong, but is this the one that really had like casualties of war too, like secondary characters who have nothing to do with death, dying. And because remember, he wasn't actually part of the bloodline. So I was trying to remember in the movies if there have been like
in the other movies.
Yeah, multiple casualties of people that weren't part of Death's design or whatever that actually got theirs.
Good question. I think
I
that's
mean,
pretty rare.
The only way you tally it up is like give or take who you consider to be involved in Death's plan, if we're just talking about the main cast or not. But obviously, like we have big catastrophes in the franchise that are, you know, I mean, I don't know if you're supposed to assume that everybody that dies in every single Final Destination movie, like, is there anyone else that has these premonitions, or is just one person per disaster?
Yeah.
But so if so, then, you know, yeah, I agree with you guys are saying.
A little collateral damage there.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, let's do this. So at number 3, Matthew, what do you have, man?
Yeah, and we've already said this, but yeah, these could be jumbled just based off of the month or year or whatever.
Just how you feeling that day?
Yeah, I had a hard time, especially with the top 3, because yep. But for me, it's Final Destination 2. And with this one, obviously, it really hits that bar like you already talked about, just traumatizing a generation. Obviously, it's not on the level of Jaws, but anytime something can kind of change something for everybody, that's pretty cool. You know, like the Jaws changing the ocean forever, logging trucks being changed forever. That's cool. I like what Sully mentioned, the cohesiveness, it seems like, between 1 and 2. I think that was cool. I like how it starts off with like the news guy interviewing the other guy, talking about the first movie, and then you get to see Clear come back, which doesn't happen a lot in this franchise. You know, like number 4, it's like a totally new movie. There's no, you know, and then number 5, we do get Tony Todd, but it's basically an entirely new movie, which always throws you off. You're like, okay, why are these people having the premonitions too? But I like the cohesiveness between them. It's a similar era, of course. Let's see, what else? Yeah, the dentist death is a fun one. We all hate the dentist. It kind of feels like you're really there with him, and that kid's a little shit. So he's one of those characters you want to see die.
Yeah. I also like the garbage disposal one.
Oh, yeah. The guy who just won the lottery.
Yeah, that's classic Final Destination. You think the garbage disposal is going to get him, but at the end of the day, it was like the ladder from the grate that falls into his eye.
Yeah, fun fake outs with that one, definitely. Yeah. And he's the same. It doesn't help his character that he's the same guy from the third, I know he did last summer movie. You know, generally considered one of the worst slasher movies ever made.
Yeah, and he looks like Evan Sawa too.
Yeah, he kind of has that look, definitely. I'm trying to remember what else in that movie. But yeah, number 2, oh, I love the very end, the flash forward to number 2. It's quick, but a fun little send off. Brian, the barbecue, the arm falls on the plate. But it's kind of tense too at the end, how it's, you know, they're kind of giving us that whole, you need to have a new life. This lady needs to give birth to the baby to stop the chain. And we're also bouncing back and forth between the guy who's in the hospital too, the guy from the motorcycle.
Right.
And he's like fighting for his life. For some reason, that moment, I think it's really good because it reminds me of those dreams that you have where you're in a dream and crazy stuff is happening, but you can't run. You feel really slow, or it kind of reminds, because he's kind of in the hospital bed and everything's happening. He's trying to call the nurse and nobody's coming. I'm with you guys though. The cast in this movie, I mean, Kimberly's okay. That's the name of the final girl, whatever. But the cast that's one thing that definitely knocks too for me, is the cast is not good.
Yeah, that's one of the weaker acted ones, I think, with the Tommy Lee looking guy who's doing blow in the opening scene off in his old Mustang.
His kill's a lot of fun though.
His kill's good. Yeah.
The girl, the guy's, she's like, hey, be careful. And the firefighter's like, what are you talking about? Like, I know what I'm doing. And then he hits the airbag and it puts the pipe through her head, and then her cigarette falls and blows the fence up. I'm like, yeah, it's a fun one. But
wasn't it directed by David R. Ellis, who did Snakes on a Plane?
Did he do Snakes on a Plane too?
I think so.
That makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. But I'm trying to remember what else. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it with that one. Two is a lot of fun, but yeah, I really think this is maybe a little tangent, but speaking of the cast, I really hope, because Bloodlines is probably going to make like 200 million or so or whatever.
Good. Yeah. I mean, it made 50
I would imagine
this weekend.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably going to be the highest grossing movie in the franchise. I think what would be awesome is if they just said fuck it and rolled out they just gave the bag to somebody, one or two actors that are well known, and they made it like Scream or Scream 2, where they're like, we're going to get a couple people to be the leads that everybody super famous that are solid. I think that would be cool because it's a silly franchise like Scream at times, but give us some faces that we recognize that are maybe going to catch us off guard when they die. You know, you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting them to kill off, whoever. But anyways, that's a tangent. But yep, yeah. Number 2 and number 3 spot.
All right. Well, then I'm going to put mine. I'm going to put Bloodlines in the number 3 spot. I think pretty
you're wrong.
Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, we've already covered this movie ad nauseum, but there's a lot to like about the movie, especially if you're a fan of the franchise. There's a lot of winks and nods. There's a lot of things that don't make any sense, but I mean, that's a Final Destination movie for you. Like I said, the things that hold it back for me is I was bothered by the CGI kills a little bit. I think it kind of lessened the impact of them, but a lot of the kills, I think the lead up to the kills was probably the best part. Honestly, for some of them, like I loved that, when we saw the teaser trailer of Eric, and you think it's going to be some brutal death in there, and then the next day he's just walking down the street like nothing happened the day before. So
that was cool. They kind of run into him. They're like, "Oh, Eric! Yeah, hey, damn." That was a good idea. Did you like it when the building? The girl is looking, then the premonition, she's looking at the building. It's kind of like Titanic. It's like creaking, and then you start to just see stuff like slowly start to spin, and then you're like, oh shit,
I did like that.
The building's breaking.
Yeah, that was cool. And that was that tapped into a good fear, because I know there's so many people have a fear of heights and being in buildings like that. Do you have any idea where this takes place? Because I was like, is that supposed to be the Space Needle? But
that's what I thought, but I have no idea.
Like, obviously, the Space Needle doesn't want to put their likeness to this, so they just made up some tower.
I'm pretty sure this whole movie is in the Northwest.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
I think they just didn't use the Space Needle name just because they're like, that would be showing this big of a catastrophe. Branded Space Needle would probably be, So, I think it was just all in the Northwest. Whereas most of the other movies were in the Northeast, like New York.
Yeah.
So,
like upstate New York, I think is where 2 takes place. And 1. I think 1 and 2 take
1
place
as well. Yeah, you see a lot of signs that are like New York, 30 miles and stuff.
Yep. So Bloodlines has a lot going for it. And I think, didn't John Watts co-write this one too?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I don't even know who that is.
John Watts he directed Spider-Man No Way Home. He
did that whole Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah, it does. It says story by John Watts, Guy Busick, and Laurie Evans Taylor.
Yes, I knew John Watts was involved with it, so that's kind of cool that you got a bigger name there. But I agree with you, Matt. I think if they were able to maybe have like one continuing story, and instead of just basically like setting up everything just for all the characters to essentially not be in the next one, I think there could be some fun to be had where it's just like they're kind of dodging death for however long, like seeing Iris's story that led her to where she was would have been way more interesting than who she was in that movie. So I think like having having someone that's just constantly on edge for like a movie or two would be would be new for the franchise, and maybe that's where they could go with the next one.
Yeah, like Sidney Prescott. It's plot armor that Sidney just always survives. That's a little ridiculous, but everybody loves it, I think most people love it. Just having a great character that continues, but I'm with you.
All right. So now we get to the last 2. Sully, let's start with you, man. Where are you at on the last 2 guys here?
Yeah, I put 5 here.
5.
I thought until Bloodlines, it was the most tonal shift or successful tonal shift that the franchise did for me. Like I thought it was pretty funny. Just in general, they really ham it up with that tone at the beginning.
They all work at a paper company.
Yeah, it's like The Office basically. in a Final Destination loop. And, there's still people that you don't like, that you're ready to see perish. But I do think that ending twist I didn't see coming at all. And like I said, I just saw this movie last week for the first time. And that pulled a lot of weight for me, definitely, because I was so not expecting that. And like Matt said, I kind of felt like I was recounting the movie in my head after. I'm like, am I just an idiot? And was this totally like 1999 and didn't notice it at all? But it was pretty solid when it came to like the set dressing and not like any 2010s tech that they had in there by accident and everything. I liked the main character enough. Everything's ridiculous when you boil it down. Like, obviously, I don't really care that he worked at a paper company, but was like an all-star chef that was trying to move to France or whatever. But it worked for that twist at the end. I actually like that bridge sequence at the beginning a good amount.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty frantic. I'm like one of those people. I don't even know if I should say one of those people, because I don't know if there are that many people out there like this, but I'm like, I don't get bridges in the sense of like how they're built. Like, do you build it from one end to the other? Do they start in the middle? Whatever. Like, they're already kind of foreign to me. And I'm like, don't trust the foundation of them. So that's like the premonition that I found pretty entertaining. And, there's a lot of crazy deaths in like a 5-minute span there when shit really starts to go down. And it gets crazy with them, jumping across gaps, grabbing that railing that's like hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
So I a lot happens in the middle that is so, and, I don't really have any of these movies ranked above like a 3 out of 5 personally. But this one sandwiches it really well. I really like the beginning and I really like the end.
Yep, that's fair. That is fair. So how we feeling about this for you, Matt?
Number 2. Let's see. Number 2, I have Final Destination 3 in the number 2 spot. For me, I think these first 3 movies probably for you as well, Chris. It adds a little something extra, just they take place like a lot of them take place. This one's 2006, but a lot of them take place like around high school for us. Yeah. That adds a little something extra, I think. What's cool about 3, I feel like for me, is it has its niche in the franchise. It is very much the summer Final Destination movie. It's all about roller coasters and like the county fair.
Right.
Like at the end with the whole tricentennial thing. So it has like kind of that niche. And I really like Ryan Merriman and Mary Elizabeth Winstead in this movie. I think they're good. What else?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead was a good final girl, I think. Mm-hmm. And she's got to be probably one of the biggest actors to be in this franchise too, I'd say.
Yeah. Yep. There were some big names they were toying around with for the first movie. I remember that. I want to say like Tobey Maguire and somebody else. Yeah, Tobey in
Sean William Scott ended up being a big Sean William Scott ended up being a big actor. Ali Lauder's still going. She's in Landman. Plays a pretty insufferable character in that. But
we already know Matt doesn't have that streamer, Chris.
Yeah.
Can't watch it.
Don't rub it in, man. I do love me some Billy Bob.
Yeah.
But 3, I like the detective. I mean, some of the you remember, Chris, like carrying around those digital cameras, man. You remember that? Yeah. Like, so dumb. We didn't have iPhones, so it was like you had this big ass Canon power shot.
Oh yeah, I remember bringing.
And then you'd have to upload it to Facebook, or so stupid.
MySpace.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I don't remember who cracked my top list on MySpace, but some of the pictures though, when you go back and watch it, you're like, how? There's no clues at all in these pictures. This doesn't make any sense. But the detective work is kind of fun. It almost becomes a whodunit a little bit. But it's just kind of a fun movie. I like how it ends on the metro. I've ridden a lot of metros in my life, so that's kind of fun too. Yeah, just a fun one.
You bringing it up, I actually forgot until you just said that. A decently big part of this movie relies on Mary Elizabeth Winstead charging that camera,
keeping it always charged.
Like it's that's like a decently big part of the narrative.
Shit,
like her
the
sister
camera
wants
died.
to borrow it. Yeah,
Yeah.
sister wants to borrow it. If she didn't plug it in to let the sister borrow it, she wouldn't have looked at the photos and stuff. And like all this kind of sets it all off. It's kind of funny. Very early 2000s or mid 2000s in that regard.
Yeah, last thing I want to mention probably about the movie is I like Ian's character too. He's basically he was the Eric before Eric. He's the same character. Eric's better, but he's the same character. You know, like kind of emo, very sarcastic, the comedic relief. So I think Ian was cool in this movie. He was pretty good in this movie too. They go to a Home Depot, which obviously is the worst possible place you could be in the world in this movie.
Yes,
but yeah, overall, pretty fun movie. You know?
Yeah. I mean, they all are, man. That's the thing that I like about the Final Destination movies is even when they're bad, they're still fun. Except, I mean, 4 has its fun moments. I think the thing with 4 is like when I did my rankings, I said 4 feels like a movie where they just gave up halfway and we're just like, I don't know, let's just throw some shit at it and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, it's like you go to some of these Blumhouse movies like Afraid or or Night Swim or whatever, some of those horror movies, and that's just what they're missing. It's like if your movie's not gonna have a huge budget, just make it fun. Just make it fun. Yeah, just do some crazy shit and make it fun. And those movies are like soulless. Whereas Final Destination, you're just gonna just gonna smile and laugh
and they do have heart. I think, especially Bloodlines, I thought had some pretty decent heart. It has some things that you actually makes you care about. Matt, you should do I know you've been doing your Rise and Fall series saga, whatever. You should do a Rise and Fall of Blumhouse. Like instead of just tackling movies, tackle the studio itself, because that was like I was thinking about it, man. I think Sully and I actually talked about this previously, but it was like Blumhouse when they first came out, they kind of had the A24 mystique going there, kind of putting out these weird, cool indie sort of
passionate
horror movies. Yeah, passion projects. They were supporting movies that other studios wouldn't greenlight. And now it feels like they're just a conveyor belt. They're like, oh, how much does this movie cost to make? $10 million? All right, just we'll put it on and we know we'll make our money back opening weekend.
Dude, their list of like the early projects that they had under their name, pretty crazy when you look at it.
It really is. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. That'd be an interesting series to watch you go through if you did that.
Kind of funny.
That's a good idea.
Just looking this up right now, like the list of films that Blumhouse helped produce. Blumhouse Productions helped produce Whiplash.
Oh my gosh, really?
Never would have thought that.
I didn't know that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Oh, I mean, it's an incredible movie. Yeah.
Have you seen that, Matt?
No. When did it come out?
J.K. Simmons and
Miles like 2010 or so, or 2014.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it sounds like maybe a thriller or something?
It's honestly you could almost say it's a thriller, but it's a drama about like this guy obsessed with drumming and trying to impress his teacher. Yeah, basically. But it spirals out of control.
Damien Chazelle, who did La La Land, it was like his big breakthrough movie. J.K. Simmons won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in it. And he's like, honestly, he plays probably one of the best villains in a movie ever because
he's so good in that.
And he's just so
such an asshole.
Such an asshole. And Miles Teller learned to play drums in that movie, and he actually plays them like really, really well. And I mean, I'm a drummer, so you can tell if someone can't play drums. So it's a damn good movie, but I would never have pinned Blumhouse to be one of the silent producers on that movie.
From Whiplash to Exorcist Believer.
Oh my God, man.
It's so weird because they made truckloads of money in the early 2000s and 2010s, truckloads. These tiny budget movies. You would think like really now's the time to just take some risks and have some fun and be in your, you're like the older guy who now wants to be a yoga instructor because he's a fucking billionaire or something.
Yeah.
But they've gone the opposite. They're like more greed, less soul, less weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And their movies now, I mean, did they have something to do with Companion? So I think Companion, like every once in a while, they got a movie that comes out where you're like, all right, that was pretty good.
I don't remember.
I got to sit through Night Swim.
I heard something else that I don't know if they had something to do with Companion, but I heard that they had like, this is just something I saw on Twitter, so it would be completely fabricated, which, probably err on the side of that being true. But I heard that they were thinking about having like a Megan spin-off, like not part of like the 2.0 thing they're coming out with now, in that it so similar to what the plot of Companion was
I
that
saw
that they were like pissed or something,
Yeah,
and they're
I
like
saw
they're scrambling around or something.
I
I'm
saw that
so
there's a
done with
new movie coming
AI.
out where they're
Yeah.
I know,
I'm
man.
so done with AI horror movies, man.
Me too.
That Megan 2.0 trailer is like the biggest switch up I've seen in like the last decade.
I haven't
was
seen
like,
it.
oh, dude, it looks wheels off. I was like, either this is going to be freaking awesome or just an absolute train wreck. I don't know.
That might be one trailer to break your rule, Matt. Like that trailer is
Shit.
so bonkers, dude.
So I did a list of upcoming summer movies and I included the trailer, but I had for the first time ever, I had to do this weird thing where I was like, okay, I'm gonna put trailer clips in my video, but I'm gonna try not to watch it.
You're going in blind.
I was kind of like one eye. I was like, fuck, throw that in there and throw that in. Okay. So I saw some other animatronic things and I like out of the corner of my eye, some weird shit. But
it's basically Megan Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
It's insane.
All right, let's go.
And they made her taller. They made her taller in this one, and she's like an Alexa bot for a portion of the movie. I don't know, dude. It looks wheels off.
Yeah.
I saw someone on Twitter that they were just like, "This is either going to be the best thing or the worst thing. I can't decide." And my youngest, like, she was Megan for Halloween. She loves Megan. It's the only horror movie she can watch. She's like, I can't wait to watch this. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I got the stomach for it, but I mean, I'm going to see it anyway, I guess.
And they're going to do the same thing they did before. They're going to say, okay, the PG-13 movie is going to, or the PG-13 version is going to make us way more money. So that's going to be the theatrical.
Dude, I actually forgot about all that.
And then on home video, we're gonna have the real project
with like a little bit more blood and like 5 extra minutes long.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Totally.
God.
All right, Blumhouse, man. These guys. All right, so at number 2, I'm gonna put my Final Destination 2. So like so many things you said, I think,
dude, holy shit, man, all of us have the first one.
Wow. Yeah, I should have just let the drums roll there, but yeah, I guess all of us. So yeah, Final Destination 2. I mean, it just I think being a 40-year-old, it has that nostalgia thing. I think the first time I saw Final Destination 2, I was just like gobsmacked. I remember like my jaw doesn't drop often when watching movies, and it did in this one. And I mean, I know now it's almost like legend.
Was it because of the boobs?
Yeah, totally.
The boobs in the opening on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Flashes are after they're hitting their joints.
I know, right? Yeah.
But
hot boxing.
But the impact of that movie is just real. And like you said, there's like that generational thing that happens to movies where it's like every time you go into the ocean, you think about a shark because of Jaws. And every time I'm on the freeway, and I drive a lot for work, it's like, you know, you see an 18-wheeler or something, it's like, even if you're not thinking about it, you are thinking about Final Destination 2 opening scene. Like, you just can't not, you know, even if it's like the thought didn't cross your mind, it's like you still kind of white knuckle it because you're like, oh, I've seen how bad this can go. So I think, but like Sully said, there's a lot riding on that opening scene. You know, there's not much else. I think some of the kills are really cool in this one. I liked AJ Cook as the final girl, and I did like the whole spin where they had Clear in there picking up her role from the first one, trying to guide these people into staying alive, essentially. So there was enough that was similar to the first, but there was enough to separate it to make it a justifiable sequel for the second one. And yeah, I just like the deaths. I think they're creative. They used a lot of practical effects in it, so the impact always can get the oh shit effect from viewers when you watch it for the first time. And you know, watching it after all these years, it's probably one of the goofier ones. I think, like, there's a lot of comedy in this one, a lot of one-liners, a lot of dopey scenarios, but I think that's just what's made me like the movie more after all these years have passed. So that's where I am on Final Destination 2.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, Matt. So why don't you lead us off, man? I guess I know what's going here. So we got Final Destination. Why don't you take it away?
I know, it's kind of crazy, right? A franchise known for its gore, and that's pretty much its signature. We all chose the least gory movie in the franchise as the best. And I think that just kind of is an indication of what James Wong did, just with the tension and the buildup and the just the vibes you get from that movie. I don't think the original Final Destination gets enough credit for being such an important. We all talk about Scream in the 90s. We all talk about some other movies like Saw and whatever in the 2000s for kicking off the gore craze. But this movie very much is like the bridge between those two. And it also it kind of looks 90s, but it doesn't. It looks 2000s. Like it has, if you go back and watch it, it's like kind of gray and gritty, and it looks like it's on film. I'm sure it's on film.
Yeah.
But you already mentioned Todd's death. One of my favorites in the franchise, personally.
Yeah.
He's basically just getting ready for bed or something, and manscaping a little bit, hanging out, and getting ready to brush his teeth, and it's kind of like, shit, that could happen to any of us all of a sudden. And then in this one, it's one of the only times in the franchise, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but where death covers up its tracks after killing Todd. You remember the water seeps back in, everything
goes back away,
goes back. So it's kind of like, obviously setting it up that he did it himself, which everyone would believe after everything that happened. But great kill. His eyes like glaze over red while it's all happening. Really intense. But I mean, this movie is not even close to as good if Devon Sawa was not in this movie.
Yeah,
I just think
he's the best lead out of any of them. I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that, man. Like he's really young in this movie, but he has this thing where like everything's really weighing on him. He wants to tell everyone to help him, and like, holy shit, this is going. But he knows, he's smart enough to know that they'll probably like lock him up or something because they'll think he's a madman. And he has to figure this out. And then him and Clear, I feel like, work really well together. They're kind of relate, because Clear, it sounds like, was always kind of like a little bit more of a hippie, a little bit more of like a black sheep with the friends. I guess they had never even talked up until after Flight 180. They went to high school together and then really bonded. But really fun movie. It's kind of like a Nightmare on Elm Street. The kids have to figure it out on their own, even though the parents are right there. The parents are right there. I always love that angle of it too. But it's like the movie in the franchise you could show to a non-horror fan or somebody who maybe just tolerates horror. These other ones, a lot of people would be like, oh, that's too much. I can't watch that. That's just way too much. This movie, though, like I could show this to my mom and just watch her squirm about how intense it is and everything. The buildup is so good. Really, I love the subtlety in this movie. It's really, really good. So what do you guys think?
It's more like a thriller, I guess, than a horror movie.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. It really does feel like an X-Files or a Twilight Zone, because it was originally written for X-Files. That was what it's for. But it really feels...
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's the script was originally written for the X-Files, and then I can't remember his name, but the guy who wrote the movie, his buddy worked at New Line and was kind of like, hey man, I think you got something here. Like, I think you should write this to be a full feature. And then, the rest is history. But it has that feel to it, like Black Mirror, X-Files, has that feel, which I love. So
that's cool. Well, Sully, I guess you're there too. So now's your time.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, I second a lot of what Matt said. I think also, even though it released in 2000, like it's such a late 90s coded movie. I'd really like to do a double feature with it, with a film that I love, The Faculty, just because I feel like there's a lot of similarities in the tone and the visuals, and just kind of like such a sign of that era and the characters we get in there. Like, it just seems like they could have gone to school at the Faculty School, honestly.
Hello, Mom?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Where's the meatloaf, Mom?
Continue. That just fucked up your flow, man.
No, don't worry about it. I never have flow. So, no, I think it's like
The Faculty.
very enjoyable. Yeah, The Faculty.
So similar.
It really, like, in
That
tone
era.
and visuals, it really, like, I don't know. I think it might be just, I was young, but just experience in the 90s, maybe that's what does it to me too. Maybe you guys as well, because it was more prominently in your guys' lives. But like, I feel like you could tell from a mile away if a movie's a 90s movie. It really, like, tone, fashion, themes, like even the humor, kind of like, it really sticks out. Not that there's a ton of humor in this first Final Destination film, but like you said, it just feels like a great long episode of like X-Files or Black Mirror. I've always loved that kind of stuff. I honestly wonder if it would be even more revered than it is if it didn't spawn a franchise. And if it was just this one-off that, it would be at the top of everyone's list of like, oh, you just watched Black Mirror. Like, here's a movie you should check out. It's flying up the Netflix charts,
It doesn't get talked about enough. Final Destination 1. Everybody talks about 2 and 3.
So the thing is,
everybody,
like what you were saying, there's the least amount of gore, visual gore in this one. So I think because that has become what the franchise is known for, like you said, this one doesn't get talked about enough because even people that would be interested, like you said, you could show it to your mother, you could show it to anyone that just likes kind of these sci-fi or like psychological thriller type of setups. Anyone that knows Final Destination, and I don't blame them, that hasn't seen the movies is going to think, oh yeah, well, like every franchise, every entry after that is just a gore fest. So like, I'm just going to assume that the first one's like that. And the first one really has such a distinct, more subtle, gripping tone to it. But I think it's like, after I finished watching it, it was so obvious that it was going to be number 1 on my list.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm right there with you. So obviously I have Final Destination myself at number 1. And I think part of it too, I don't know, I don't think you guys touched on it, but one of the things that really sticks out to me on this one is like, yeah, there's the 90s feel, but I also hate flying. So the opening sequence of that movie, like, I think I was 15 when it came out. So that one messed with me the most out of any movie. And there's not a flight I take where I don't think about the opening sequence of that movie. I know the second one gets all the accolades for it because we all drive every day. But as someone who absolutely hates flying, that movie resonates almost more with me, just because, I mean, I travel. It hasn't stopped me from traveling. But it has like that everyday fear sort of thing that really seeps in. And it's probably, I mean, there's been some pretty great plane crash scenes in movies. I think The Gray is probably the best, if you guys have ever seen that movie. But Final Destination one's pretty harrowing. So like you said, it's the least graphic one, but it's the one I think about the most. And even though the premonition at the beginning, I think impacted me the most out of all out of the entire franchise, which is what basically the bread and butter of these movies outside of the kills is the opening sequence. And that one stuck with me. But I think the rest of the movies just as solid as the opening sequence is. Like the rest of the movie, it was really intriguing. I was interested in what was happening next. I actually cared about some of these characters. Even the one who was like the what's his name? The guy who was the douchebag, but you end up being like, all right, he's just
the jock
that we have. Yeah, the jock. He's like, typical high school love triangle that you fall where you're like, that guy's a douche, but actually he's a decent guy. Like he's not that bad. You don't want to see anything bad happen to him. And then you got Sean William Scott in there for the some of the comedy quips, and then some of the deaths just stick around a little bit better. Yeah, what's up?
I was just gonna say, I just realized this when I rewatched it, like last week or something like that. But you remember Crazy Ralph from Friday the 13th?
Oh yeah,
you guys remember Crazy Ralph? Yeah, on the bike.
Of course.
Is that basically Sean William Scott's character in this movie? Yes. He's always on his bike.
I never thought about that.
Crazy Ralph.
Like the teacher's house is blowing up. He's on his fucking bike riding around. The jock guy turns around on the road when they're at the restaurant. He's on his bike. Crazy Ralph. Anyways,
Crazy Ralph.
I forgot about Crazy Ralph.
Well, Matt, that's probably fresh in his brain because he's watching movies all the time. How many times have you had to watch those the Friday the 13th movies? Because you made so many videos about them.
Yeah, I have made quite a few. I do love them, man. I can't lie. They're just fun. I've watched them.
What do you think of the new redesign?
I don't know. It's like a cartoon rendering thus far. I'd have to see it on a real actor.
Yeah.
It seems like just like added buttons to his shirt.
Yeah.
That's it.
It looks like
kind of changed the chevrons a little bit and stuff, maybe, but I mean I want to see more in that IP.
Yeah.
Hopefully Crystal Lake is going to be good.
I hope so.
I follow the guy who's the showrunner for that, and he's posting about him like checking out filming locations, and they're getting it rolling. So
Dude, I can't believe it's been so long since we've had another entry in that and Nightmare on Elm Street. But I'm more of a Friday the 13th guy.
Yeah, same. It's like, why? It's guaranteed to make like 100 million
and stuff.
It's guaranteed. Like if you just made a Friday the 13th movie and made it decent, it's gonna make it like 100 million or whatever.
Oh yeah, easily. And I'm one of those that actually thinks the remake was pretty fucking solid.
Love the remake.
I love it, dude. Yeah, I think
it's probably top 3 for me.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I love the remake.
Yeah,
one of the best Jasons in the franchise.
You said top 3 for you, Matt?
Yeah, probably top 3 for me.
Yeah,
I'm one of those weirdos that also loves the original. So
I like the original. It's fine. I mean, it's not as good as 2, I don't think, but I love
2. Yeah, love 2.
Yeah.
Anyways,
was Kevin Bacon in the first one?
First one,
yeah. He's the one that gets the arrow through the neck.
Yeah,
that's greatness. And then so Marcus Nespal, who did Friday the 13th remake, also remade Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I love that one too. I know that movie.
Wait a sec, not the Netflix one, right?
No, the one with
the 2003.
Okay, dude, the
with
Netflix
Jessica
one.
Biel.
No, the Netflix one is an embarrassment.
Ready to give myself a lobotomy.
Yeah, that one's awful.
Where it was like,
dude, there's a lot of promising rumors about the next Texas Chainsaw, though. There's a lot of people like there's what's his face? I'm just drawing a blank, but he was in Twister, he was in Top Gun. What's his name?
Glenn Powell.
Glenn
Powell.
Yeah.
Rumors about him trying to be in the next Texas Chainsaw.
Strange Darling, right?
Yep. Somebody else recently I just saw today too, another director talking about it, but like people actually taking it serious and saying, like, let's make this a good movie. Whereas the Netflix one was like, who's a cheap director and a cheap cast we can just throw on here?
Version of Texas.
I will say, even though I hate that movie, it might be because I hate it too. I laughed my ass off when he got onto when he got onto the tour bus and everyone has the phones. It's like, do anything and we'll cancel you, bro.
And he kills like 100 people in like
literally
a minute.
Yeah. And then I saw that Damian Leone was positioning himself for the Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can't think of a more perfect person for a Freddy movie.
It should be the choice. He should be the choice.
Yeah, that should be awesome.
Like the practical kills.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like they wouldn't be Terrifier where it's like really drawn out and more torture. It would probably be like Friday the 13th kills, which are just like they're supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
like nudity and you know drugs and
as long as it's in space.
Yeah.
He's a no-brainer, dude. Just give him a handful of million to make it, or just to him, give him a check and say, dude, do it.
Go for it.
And he's super passionate. He'll make it fun.
That would be fun. That was actually one thing I meant to bring up is that kind of bummed me out about Bloodlines is there was no nudity. I think that was the first Final Destination without any.
Wanted to see some tits.
Do you think it was the first one without it? It might be.
The first, yeah, I think so.
Was there nudity in the first one?
That's the thing. I can't remember if there was in the first.
Remember there was in the first one, but the other ones there's definitely.
Right. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I mean, you got the animated 3, you got the flashing scene in 2 right before the everything pops off.
Yeah.
4,
number 4, the Abercrombie jock guy banging that girl by the pool.
Yep.
Yep. He was like exactly the same in that moment as the guy in Friday the 13th.
Pretty much.
With the stupendous.
Literally, yeah, stupendous.
Stupendous. Ooh, they're so juicy. Or is that what he says? Yeah, I think he does.
It's like perfect nipple placement.
Yeah, perfect. Such perfect nipple placement, baby.
Yeah. See, we could have used a little bit more of that, but it's 2020.
Great villain. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just
we could have used a little bit more boobs, yeah.
A little more boobs, but it's 2025. That's I think I read something the other day that like nudity is at like an all-time low in movies and movie history, and I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, so
yeah, it makes sense, but at the same time, like sex sells.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it doesn't need to be
that's never
raunchy or dirty or it's just fun, like
it's fun.
Like
especially for us 40-year-old guys, we like to go to the theater and see some boobs once in a while. So
yeah, I can't relate.
I know. We got the young blood over here.
Sully hasn't had to pop the Viagra yet,
It creeps up on you fast, man. All right, dudes. Well, hey, I can't thank you both enough for hopping on today. Matt, why don't you tell us what you got going on and where we can find you?
Oh yeah, appreciate it, man. Mad Blood on YouTube, Mad Blood Matt on Instagram, and wherever else. I will have a couple more Final Destination videos coming out soon. I have a Final Destination ranking coming out probably Tuesday, and then after that, I'm gonna rank the premise. This is the most videos I've done on one franchise. I think it's yeah. I'll be done talking Final Destination for a while, but
Yeah, I don't
ranking, I'm gonna rank the premonitions, I think, and then after that, I'm gonna rank. I'm gonna do a tier list of all of the deaths, non-premonition deaths.
Ooh, that's good. That'll be a good one.
And then I think I'm gonna hop into Fear Street, which is
Okay.
coming out next week because
Yep.
I like Fear Street 78, and the new one looks kind of fun. So
Yeah, I
that's
like all
pretty
of
much it.
those.
Did you feel like Clown in a Cornfield was essentially Fear Street? Because I felt like exactly like a Fear Street movie to me.
Yeah. It felt very much like a Fear Street movie without the R.L. Stein fun. Not saying it was a bad movie, but it didn't. Like I like
I
the
had fun with
R.L.
it.
Stein kind of vibe that those movies have.
Yep.
It's like Goosebumps, but it's a little older.
Yeah, a
I
little
mean,
bit
definitely
more
a little older. It's very
Yeah.
gory at times, but and then other than that on the channel, just more classic horror stuff. I'm sure
Classic horror stuff.
So.
All right, cool. Are you going to be putting out any movie reviews for like the big blockbusters this summer?
Oh, dude, that's a good question. I'm thinking about doing a Mission Impossible ranking.
Hell yeah.
Because I just want to watch the movies. I
Yeah.
just love them so much. I want to watch it really bad, but damn, it's going to take a lot of time to rewatch all those.
Yeah,
That's my
they're-
only
They're
problem.
not short movies either. Like
Yeah, they're probably what are they like two? They're probably at 2 hours,
two and a half
or so,
hours. I mean,
right?
even Mission Impossible 2 came out in 2000, and that movie's like 2.5 hours. So
Damn.
I did a ranking for the franchise when the last one came out, and I told myself, I'm like, I'm not doing it again this year. I can't do it again this year. You can take the 7 of them. Just look at that. I'll put a comment under the video being like, this one would go here.
yeah,
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. I know I've done way too many of like watching the whole Paranormal Activity franchise
Ugh.
recently and all those, and it's just like, God. But Mission
Yeah.
Impossible, yeah. So if I find time to rewatch them, I will definitely do a ranking. Yeah.
okay, that'd be great, man. I'll keep an eye out for that. Sully, my man, what you got? What you got coming up? Where can people find you?
Yeah, Sully streams on every platform except you've learned the hard way, Chris, that I'm kind of just like a Twitter and YouTube lurker.
Yep.
I
Yep.
barely
Don't-
respond to Instagram DMs.
Yeah, don't go on Instagram if you want to talk to
no,
Sully. That used to
don't.
be our method of communication, but
Yeah, I've gotten so
That's it.
bad on it.
I said he checks out about as much as he does his 401k these days. So
It's also too, people will ask
a good
me
idea.
like people will ask me if I've seen X, Y, and Z like on my Instagram to create an even further layer of it. I'm like, well, the only Instagram I'm on, and I'm not even really on it, is on my movie like channel one. So like I'm never on my personal one that I like have that exists that I've like will switch over to every once in a while when someone's like, oh, I sent you this. But so basically I'm like a Twitter and YouTube lurker for the most part. When it comes to what I have coming out this week, I have a review for Friendship, which I really enjoyed.
I saw that
I'm a-
yesterday. I liked it a lot.
I'm a big Tim Robinson guy.
Me too.
He's definitely like an acquired taste and not for everybody, but I really dug that. And then I saw the new Fear Street yesterday, actually. And so I have a review coming out for that on, I think it's like, read into this how you will, because sometimes it's not a good sign. I think the embargo is up like midnight Thursday. So,
Oh damn. I gotta
but-
hit you up on how you guys get those early viewings.
We'll hook you
I
up.
gotta hit you up. I gotta hit you
Yeah.
up. 'Cause I
um,
don't get it. I don't have anything early.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't do the Netflix one. I've been trying for the last couple of years. It's really hard to crack that nut, but
I think I got
Oh.
super lucky. Some
Yeah.
guy must have just gotten fired, and on his way out, he was like, you know what, screw it. Like I'm letting everybody that asked in. Because I don't know. That was like what's so funny is that was the easiest one for me to get by far.
Nice.
The other ones were given still Amazon won't even give me the time of day. So
yeah, I can't.
I
get
haven't
it.
even tried. Like I don't even
Yeah.
know. I don't even know what you do.
honestly, you just Google any site you want, and then plus press site at the end of it, and usually there'll be some kind of form, some kind of thing you can fill out to try and weasel your way in there. But it's honestly like when it comes to press screenings and streamers giving you access, all that stuff, you like don't even hear a peep out of me. I like just request and that's it, because I don't want them, like, it's like total imposter syndrome. Like I don't want them to come to their senses and be like, wait a sec, this guy shouldn't be getting this stuff. What the hell? So I like kind of keep it on an even keel when it comes to that. But no, I mean, yeah, if you want to DM me or something, I can tell you what I did to try and make it happen. So
Just don't DM him on Instagram.
yeah, don't DM me. Send me a letter.
It's like sometimes just the hype. You kind of want to see it early, you know, and be able to kind of get your recording ready to go. So
yeah, so it's funny though. I was telling a buddy about this earlier this week. Actually, I took him to go see Friendship with Me last week or something, and it's like the biggest first world problem ever. But there is a part, because like since I'm so big on trying to get, or like when it comes to a movie review, just a straight up movie review on YouTube, like being early really does benefit, you know, how you're going to pop up and stuff. It's not like if I was doing if I do a review later for like the 50th anniversary of Jaws, like who cares when I get that up, you know, that's been out for 50 years. So I've said though that like since I'll go to all these early screenings and stuff, it's taken a little bit out of it where like I've thought about it before where I wish I could have AMC A-list. Like I don't have any of that stuff. I'd love the bliss of just like whenever I want, just like 4 movies, whatever, just go, instead of always being like locked into whenever the screening is or something. And then, oh my God, the embargo's up the next day. I got to stay up all night trying to like get something made for a video. It takes a little bit out of it, but like I said, it's like obviously massive first world problem there.
Sure.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Like that urgency of, it's like the people who cover movie news.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how it's really hard. That's a really hard niche.
Dude, they must just have their phone in their hand.
You always have to be like online.
Yeah.
That's why I love covering old classics.
Yeah.
Is because there's no pressure. I can take my time and make it really good. And
I honestly
but I know what you mean. Like that's if it's a movie review, I mean that's
the dream though.
Very
like,
helpful to get it out early.
If I could put out a review about something that was 30 years old and people would watch it the way they'd watch something that was new that I put out, then like I'd be doing that every day of the week.
I know. It's kind of like what I talked about with the variety, like variety, being a variety movie reviewer.
Yeah.
That's like the dream, because it's like, oh, The Last of Us is kind of cool. Let's talk about that. And then the next week you're like, I'm kind of feeling Star Wars. Let's talk about that. You know, that's the dream.
Yeah.
But
it really is.
It is. Well, hey, I can't thank you guys enough. Always a blast talking to you. I mean, we could go on for probably another couple hours, but I'm hungry and the wife's making dinner. So, but hey, yeah, follow Matt, follow Sully. I'm sure you're going to see their faces pop up on here time and time again. Next week I should have a pretty cool guest on. We'll see. It's always fun trying to book these things yourself. You never know what's going to happen. But
you got to give us a tease.
Yeah, I'll tease you guys.
Is it Rogan? Right. Joe Rogan?
Oh yeah, it's Joe. Rogan.
That was last week. You didn't watch?
That was last.
Damn
week.
it.
Yep. But anyway, tune in next week at 5. Thanks everybody. Have a great Sunday. And anybody has any final destination rankings? Let us know.
Put them in the comments, like the video, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Like, yep. See, Matt knows the game.
No.
All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, fellas.